What's going on, everybody? Jorge Aquino coming to you live and direct. This is Tormenting Tarmac. It's the podcast where the enthusiast never dies. Today, date of recording, I believe it's August the 18th. Yes, it's August the 18th in the year of our Lord 2025. Coming at you live and direct from the west end of the PHX. We're in surprise. I had about an hour and 20-minute commute to go ahead and get home today, and I didn't like it, but I made it finally and whatnot. And I've got two awesome guests who did not have to deal with as much traffic, but I think they're very familiar with traffic in general. Ladies and gentlemen, I've got two really interesting individuals. Sloane Polisner is joining me. What's going on, Sloane? How are you?
Hey, good. How you doing?
I'm doing fabulous. Matt Millian is also joining me, her boyfriend right next to her. Matt, how you doing tonight?
Great. Awesome. How are you doing?
Dude, I am wonderful. I'm very excited to go ahead and chat with you both. Obviously, we've been talking for the last 10 minutes. And right before I hit record, I told you guys I was going to go ahead and tell you the story of when my mom crashed out on two 12-year-old girls when I was 11 and I went to go watch Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring. Before I tell this story, the crash out was valid,
Okay.
completely valid. Okay. So, as everyone knows, people call me Papa Tarmac every once in a while. My name is, of course, Jorge. I would hope that anybody who listens to this podcast knows that. If you don't, hi, I'm Jorge. And so here's what happens. It's December 2001. Yeah, right before Christmas. And my mom took me to go see The Lord of the Rings. I was 11 at the time. So we go ahead and we go into the theater. It was the Century Theaters over at Park Place in Tucson, Arizona. So for any Tucsonans, they know exactly what I'm talking about. It's up on the second floor. I know that you've come to Scottsdale a multitude of times and whatnot. Have you guys ever gone down to Tucson at any point?
Oh, years ago.
Years ago? Okay. Well, I'll explain to you the driving roads up in Mount Lemon are sublime. So the next time you're in
Okay.
town and you got a little fun car, you got to take it up to Mount Lemon. There you go.
Okay.
But Greg actually can validate that for me. So
Oh my
shout out to
God. Thank you for the
GTO.
shout out already.
Yeah, all that, dude. It's Greg. Greg gets a shout out whenever. It's all good. Um, and so I'm going into the movie theater with my mom, and then two these two girls are in line, and they see me. They recognize me from middle school or something like that. I don't know who I can't, off the top of my head, I can't remember who they were, but I knew who they were at the time. And they look at me and they're like, "Oh, hey, look, it's Hayhor," which I'm very sensitive about this. Everybody that's listening, if we're at Cars and Coffee and I catch you calling me Hayhor to my face or behind my back, just know it's on site. Okay. It's on site. I'm very, very, very particular about that nickname. I hate it. I've dealt with it for 25 plus years of my life. Don't do it. I'm warning you right now. Anybody that's listening. So, anyways, these girls call me that. And I heard them and I was just, I was trying to go ahead and let it go and whatnot. My mom, she heard it and she crashed out. She went over to these girls and she was like, and my mom is, of course, a very proud Hispanic Latina woman and she has an accent. So she has my tone of voice, but she has an accent. And she's like, his name is Jorge. Okay. Would you like it if somebody went to you and made fun of your name and stuff? No, it would be very rude. I'm very disappointed. If your parents were here, I would go ahead and blah 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 blah. I'm like, Ma, please, for everything that is holy, stop. Stop this right now. Stop the madness. Can we please just go watch The Lord of the Rings?
Mhm.
She went on for like another 10 seconds and then she came back. I remember that story vividly because obviously I was very embarrassed at that moment in time. Fast forward 24 years later, my mom, shout out to her, love her. That's right. Those girls deserved it. Like
It's
so
straight.
there you go. I know probably everyone's wondering why are you telling this story? Well, we were having a pronunciation conversation before the start of the podcast and everything. So I wanted that's context for everyone. But for anybody who's wondering, don't call me Haywar. You will get super kicked. Okay. Anyways, yeah, that's right. I'm Shawn Michaels, man. Yeah, what are you gonna do? There's so many different places that I want to take our conversation tonight. You both do some really, really interesting things within a variety of different spaces. Matt, of course, you are a semi-professional racing driver. Actually, where when you're in a racing academy. So okay, real quick. So you are part of a racing academy. You're part of BMW Racing Academy. Sloane was very proudly mentioning that you are the only American in that group right now, which is amazing. You know,
Sure.
shout out to us Americans, just kicking ass and taking names. Cadillac's coming to F1. We're going to dominate really soon.
Yeah.
Because Haas isn't a real American F1 team. Um, um, and what I was wanting to go ahead and get at is where was I going with this thought? I had a thought there, and now I crapped on them. I'll get back to. I'll get it back to. I'll
We'll
get it
circle
back
back.
at home. Yeah, but you are involved with BMW racing. Oh, now I remember. When you are in the level where you're at, do you consider yourself semi-pro? Is it pro? Is it because it's not pro am? It's definitely not pro am because you've been doing it now for well over 15 years at your age and whatnot. So
Yeah.
when you're in a racing academy and in the level that you're at right now, is it considered pro or is it semi-pro?
Yeah, it's definitely a weird word in the world of motorsport because pro means so many different things. I mean, it can
Exactly.
mean you're there getting paid. It can be that you're there hired to do that job in the race car. And also a lot of people could just use it to talk about the championship because you can be
Sure.
racing in a club series, you know,
Hmm.
as a professional, or you can be racing in a club series as an amateur, or you can be in a professional series as an amateur or as a pro. So,
Right.
there's a lot of different ways to slice it. I would definitely consider myself full professional at this point.
Right.
Definitely took a long time to get there, and I mean, it just kind of takes the experience and the accolades and the respect of your peers to kind of want to call it that.
Right.
But definitely the last 2 years that I've spent in Pirelli GT4 America, I feel like I've warranted that title for myself, and I've worked super hard for it.
Right.
And it's something that, I treat as my day-to-day job. It's something that I'm always looking for opportunities in, training every day for it, whether
Yeah.
that's on sponsorship side or that's on fitness or that simulator side. So when it kind of takes over most of what you do on a day-to-day basis, I think that's fair to say that you're a professional at that point.
100%. I completely agree with you. And I meant no disrespect by asking
Oh
that
yeah,
question. I
not
was
at
just
all.
trying to go ahead, because um, obviously there's so many series. And if you are like, if your full investment of time when it comes to your job is that, I consider it professional and whatnot. But, just because of the different levels and things of that nature, I just wanted to go ahead and make sure that I was understanding that. And I
Sure.
think it's really important. How, like, you are in your mid 20s, you're 24, 25 years old, right?
Yep.
Um, how long have you been racing for?
So I've been racing for, I guess it's been 20 years at this point. So started off at
Wow.
5 years old in go-karts, like a lot of those famous stories go with the early F1 drivers and the early
Yeah.
NASCAR drivers and the early sports car professionals that turn out to be. Yeah, I don't know. Long story short, my parents thought it was a good idea to put me in a go-kart when I was 5.
Shout out to your parents. It's a brilliant idea.
Shout out. Yeah, I will say they always tell me they're like if you had siblings, like I'm an only child, they're like if you had siblings, you would have been playing soccer, you would have been playing basketball. Like
Yeah.
this is a heck of a commitment that we gave to you early, and it was something to do as a family. My
Yeah.
dad was always very interested in classic cars and sports cars, and always loved motorsport with his dad, and thought it was something to get me into. Thought it was a cool thing to maybe build a personality out of me, and they didn't really know how long I would take it for, and they gave me the opportunity to kart at a pretty high level for 7 or 8 years
Right.
and did that until I was 12, 13 years old, until me and my dad were basically throwing wrenches at each other at a certain point as 12 and 13. I was just fed up with karting at that point. We had
Sure.
kind of seen the peak of what we thought we could get out of that as a family and started to look towards opportunities in real motorsport and reached out to some old friends who got me into a Spec Miata at the time and started doing kind of amateur club racing in a program called Teen Mazda Challenge, which was kind of like a build-up program for these teenagers to put them into sports car racing and build them as professional, on the marketing side and on the driving side. And yeah, just kind of built up from there. Started racing for some amateur kind of grassroots BMW teams from there after winning a national championship in a club organization in NASA. And yeah, it's just kind of progressed every year. You just kind of show the best you can year after year and get yourself in front of the right people, and sometimes the right things happen.
Dude, that's amazing. That's amazing. Let me go ahead and tell you something right now. I can't even remember what I was doing 5 years old. Sloan, you're a little younger than I am. Can you remember what you were doing at 5 years old?
I mean, my background is so different from Matt's. I'm a middle child. I got an older sister and a younger brother, so I was constantly fighting for attention. I ended up
That's
doing
my
theater.
set. That's my middle child too, man.
Really? Yeah, I
Yes.
mean, it's my parents were kind of like, okay, we got one child over here who's a sporty athletic person. We have me who's just craving attention, and then we just had like my younger brother who, I mean, what is he? He's 5 years younger than me, so he was just born. So, yeah, my parents were like, we're just gonna stick her in rehearsals after school just to
Yeah,
get rid of her for a little bit.
I love
So
that.
he had all the attention on him. I was craving attention.
I hear you. I mean, it's me and my little sister. My little sister's 5 years younger than I am and whatnot. And
Okay.
again, it's a boy and a girl. So it's instead of being
Mhm.
two boys or two girls, the differentiation and attention right there isn't it, I was more like held responsible, like, why don't you do this for your sister? Why don't you do
Yeah.
that? And again, I love my sister. I adore her. She's amazing. She is a veteran, she was an army nurse, in
Wow.
the middle of COVID. She was like in Seattle, helping people out. Like she will have forever. I call her the captain, not because it's a joke, but she actually, when she got out of the army, she reached the rank of captain. So like
Wow.
Captain Aquino.
Oh
That's what I'm
my
talking about.
goodness.
Aquino Tranfaglia. Shout out to her husband Jared.
Wow.
Um, yeah, it's kind of that is a cool thing to go ahead and like drop on
Oh yeah,
people because
absolutely.
like again, I was telling you guys before we recorded, I enjoy doing these podcasts because that I do the podcast with are cooler than me. So also in the outset of in my personal life, everyone around me is also cooler than I am. Like my wife is cooler than me, my sons are cooler than me, my mom
Oh
is
my
cooler than me,
God.
and so is my sister. And my sister's got a legit claim because she's a captain in the U.S. Army. Um, God, what was I doing at 5 years old? Seeing my sister be born, watching the power. Actually, you know what? While you were karting at your age of five, bro, at five, I wanted to be the Green Ranger. So, like,
Hell yeah.
No.
Hell yeah.
shout out, my gosh, shout out to the Tommy. Is it Jason Lee Scott? Yes,
God,
I think
maybe.
I think so. Yeah. I think that's his real name. Sorry if I messed that up, but that is the Green Ranger, and he was actually more badass as the White Ranger. Like, sorry, I know we're deep
I
diving
can't
into way
speak
too
to
much.
any of this. Is this Transformers or something?
No, dogs, is the Power Rangers, the Mighty Morphin Power
Oh, that's what
Rangers,
I meant. That's what I meant. So
Transformers.
wait,
I guess I
that's
can.
not
I see
that's
that.
not Power Rangers isn't no, that's not Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
No.
No, it's not. Uh,
Oh God.
Gotta
that's
get you back on track, Sloan.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
so sorry.
The Ninja Turtles
I
is
mean
rough.
no disrespect, I
It's
promise.
okay. It's okay. See,
Oops.
everybody that's listening to this podcast, they're of you guys' age, so they'll probably like be on you guys' side and be like, "What is he talking about?" I'm talking about the
No, I
OG Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Yeah,
so our issue is that we quote SpongeBob a lot. I don't think it's
that
an
which
issue,
is
but it's kind of a love
Yeah.
language at this point is really it's a lot of SpongeBob quotes.
sure.
SpongeBob, it's just transcended generations at this
It
point.
really
It
has, yeah.
Age,
has. I was
generation.
I I was 10 when SpongeBob came out. I was 10 on Nickelodeon because I think it started in like was it 2000? I think it may have
I think
started maybe a little bit
99, 2000.
99
Yeah.
2000, right? So
Yeah.
like I'm of the generation I was watching the Wild Thornberries and I was watching the
Right.
Rugrats, and then
Yeah,
obviously
Rugrats.
yeah, I grew up on Toonami, which was like Dragon Ball Z and Gundam
Mhm.
Wing and everything. And
Yeah.
obviously prior to that it was the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and everything. But like you guys, you mentioned Transformers. Um it's funny because I've had a variety of people that because you guys are like the older Gen Z, very, very, very early, very late millennials and whatnot. So in the same way that um, Gone in 60 Seconds and the Fast and the Furious was like my opening into car culture, a lot of you guys is the opening for you guys was Transformers, right? Was that it was because you guys are both very much car enthusiasts and whatnot. Is that kind of your opening that got you into it, or what was it?
No, mine was Herbie Fully Loaded.
Oh, that
Hey,
was a good
yo,
one
I'm just watching
too.
that right now.
You
I
really?
forgot
I
about
was watching
that.
it last
That,
night. True story.
That's a good one.
unlike Matt, like nobody in my family has been into cars. We didn't
Right.
have cool cars. My dad has never taught me how to work on cars. Nobody's been interested in it. Nobody watched racing. There was literally nothing about cars except that we would drive a car for life, you know?
Right.
But I remember
As a
seeing Herbie.
mode of transportation. Yeah, of
Right,
course.
exactly. Like that was really kind of it. I'm like, oh, cars. But seeing Herbie fully loaded, I was like, oh yeah, that's gonna be me. I'm absolutely gonna be a Lindsay Lohan. I'm gonna do these things. And we used to go to you remember Cracker Jacks in Scottsdale?
Of course, yeah.
So which I mean, rest in peace now that I know that who bought it out. It's a CrowdStrike guy.
Oh, yeah.
That guy did it, and
Yeah.
I'm so upset about it because I love Cracker Jacks. Anyway, we go-karting, and I would
Okay.
literally name my go-kart Herbie and be that
That's what's up.
dramatic theater kid that's like, "Come on, Herbie, let's do this! Like, let's go!" Like, so that's really what it was for me. That I was like, "Oh, cars, this
Would
is sick."
your go-kart magically reinflate its tires?
Absolutely not. It did nothing. I was not very good. I would actually like to say maybe I did good. I can't really remember. But in my brain, I'd like to say no, that I actually it went really fast and my cart understood me and we always won, but
You
it's
were one with the cart. Yeah. No.
basically, yeah, we were the
Yeah.
same. We were the same. But then I'd get in a different cart and that cart would be called Herbie as well. So it's like every cart I was in is just Herbie, we got it.
The spirit of Herbie follows you to this day, obviously.
Exactly. That's what it is.
When you're on trackside and stuff like that. So that's the other thing that I wanted to go ahead and mention. We obviously we're going to be talking to Matt a lot about his racing career and whatnot. But then Sloane's so interesting because not to divulge into to go into your job, but it actually correlates into a lot of what you do and things of that nature. Because like you like work a lot in like production and whatnot, you did some cool stuff for on Rebel Moon, like shout out to Zack Snyder and shout out to the Snyder cut. But like you also work with a lot of racing teams and are you doing a lot of media with them and whatnot as part of your job, or what is a lot of your roles that you do with some of the racing teams that you work with?
My path has been super kind of crazy when it comes to the racing side of things. Now I kind of say my role as a team coordinator.
I
So I
love
work
that.
super closely with the team managers and I kind of handle all the logistics stuff that they shouldn't have to think about when it comes to flights, hotels, rental cars, catering, any hospitality, any types of partnership media things that need to be done.
Yeah,
I'm kind of the one that takes care of all of that. I'm not doing a ton on the media side unless I'm kind of running their Instagram stories. But I'm always working with our videographers, our photographers, getting content up on the Instagram, Facebook, and just making sure things are being posted because we sit on a lot of content sometimes because teams are just like, I mean, we're so busy, we don't really have
sure.
the time to post. So I'm like, hey, I'll do it for you. Um, so yeah, that's kind of what I brought to racing and that the correlation between film and racing on the logistics side is like I mean, they're
It
just
goes
one and
hand
the
in
same.
hand almost, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically you're putting on a show every single weekend when you're going racing. So,
Yeah.
when I found that out, I was like, oh, I could probably do this because I'd been a fan for F1 for a long time. Same with IndyCar. I didn't really understand a lot of it. I was not a Drive to Survive bandwagon person.
Give me some dap right here through the
So
screen. Let's go. Hmm.
thank you. So I did watch like a few episodes of Drive to Survive, and I was like, I saw Chris Jenner's face in one of the very first frames of the first season, and I was like, I'm good. I don't really need that. It's okay.
Bruce Jenner was a good race car driver. Did you know
He
that?
was. He was.
Yeah.
Bruce,
He
now
finished,
Caitlin can still
yeah.
drive.
He
Like
finished second in the 12 hours of Sebring. It's pretty
I
good.
Really?
remember that. Yeah,
When?
yeah. So,
80s,
like
I
the
think.
80s.
Yeah.
And what
Yeah, yeah.
car?
Oh, I forget, but whatever was,
As
yeah,
I
put
think
in
he did like
Sebring at
some
the time.
sports car racing, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, he
Yeah,
raced I think a lot of Fords. I could be wrong, but
yeah.
yeah, that was a little sorry. I just had
Well,
to like run through
no, no,
that.
no, no. But it's so true because like if you go back to Bruce before he had got into the Kardashians, before he became Caitlyn and everything, like I think he was an Olympian, right?
Yeah.
Or
Yep.
she was an Olympian. I'll be politically correct and respectfully, but she was an Olympian back in the 70s, if I'm not mistaken, or 80s. And then, I mean, they were an extreme athlete, for lack of a better term, because
Yeah.
I think it was like skiing or something like that that they were an Olympian in and whatnot. So like, I can't
No.
remember exactly, but it was something, and that's how he became famous was because he was and they have been into like cars for a very long time, even more to the extent that I think he almost killed somebody with one of his cars, but that's nor here nor there.
Yeah.
But I know that you talk to people in Beverly Hills and they'll tell you, yeah, we see Caitlin ripping in a 3RS all the time, and I'm like,
Well, that's crazy.
all right, like respect. Like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Like anybody who's got a 3RS, like you're ripping around in the Angeles forest, like, you know,
Yeah.
salute.
Yep. Have fun. Yeah.
Have fun. You're so right though. Yeah, you mentioned the correlation between like, being in part of a film crew and then moving over to a team racing crew, because at the end of the day, logistics are going to always be logistics. With what you do, you are essentially the backbone and essentially are what keeping a racing team afloat, because when they're trying to focus on making sure that they have the right drivers for their cars, making sure that their car is what it is and everything like that, making sure, sponsorships and stuff like that, you are doing the things that they can't focus on. That's literally why you're there. Like, Matt, you've been racing now for 20 years. You've been able to go ahead and thankfully you're able to go ahead and focus on now the racing, especially now that you're more deep into it and whatnot. But like, you've seen all the ins and outs over the last 20 years. What has been some of the most, like, I guess not shocking, but the most surprising things as you've come up through the ranks that you see on the outside that you don't have to worry about that, but then you realize afterwards, I'm like, oh my God, thank God for people like Sloane who do this, because Lord knows I wouldn't be able to.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, even just like I grew up, going to the kart track with really just like my parents, and maybe we'd bring a mechanic with us. Just
One
all that,
mechanic.
pretty
Now you
much.
have like
Yeah.
five, right?
Yeah, at least five. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, but like my story was always very humble, and I didn't really think, and when you're a kid, you don't really think what's going on, you just kind of take it for granted up to a certain age. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, my dad's, working on the car, and, we brought another guy in to kind of help us with the car, and, everything else is kind of taken care of, and your job is being the driver. And that's kind of how it was, I'd say, for me up till I was like 18 and about college age. And then from then on out, it was kind of like, okay, well, you're going to enter college, you're going to have to figure out more of your racing career on yourself. And it kind of got put more on my shoulders. And then I started
Right.
to not take for granted, what Sloan did and what team owners did and, what mechanics did and what people like my dad did for me, up to that point in my career. And that's when I was really able to start making headway with my own opportunities. Really just respecting the different roles on teams, and what the
Right.
roles that everyone plays to make that whole show happen and get that car on track. Because at the end of the day, I'm not a coordinator. I have no idea how to do any of that kind of stuff. That's a whole different skill set. But all I can do is be personable and be that driver that, these teams want to hire and have in their car. And a lot of that is, yeah, respecting the different roles and being humble about it and understanding that just because you're the driver, you're not always the star of the show. This
Right.
show has to come up through everyone else. And at the end of the day, your role is to kind of just not mess it up, just bring them a result and show well that that's why you brought everyone there in the first place. So, but
Yeah.
wouldn't be there without them.
For sure. You mentioned something that, stars of the show and whatnot, because obviously when you watch any type of racing, you're watching it for the cars, and you're obviously, you're paying attention to the skills of the drivers and everything like that. And, Sloane, you brought up F1 and that you were a fan of F1 prior to Drive to Survive. And by the way, I've watched Drive to Survive up until the point that I was like, I'm no longer going to pay for Netflix because it's way too expensive. I'm going to go ahead and fuck off and whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Fair.
But, for a while, I watched like the first three seasons, and it makes me wonder, because one of the things that F1 did is I think it helped humanize these drivers to us, right? Like, we really like the biggest beneficiary of that probably was Daniel Ricciardo, right? And or Pierre Gasly or Charles Leclerc or Lando, or, all these guys that have now this enormous following, and they got this enormous following off that show. One of the other things that it also helped do is either popularize or depopularize certain team principles, to an extent of like, either you love a team principle, someone like Gunther Steiner, who isn't a team principal anymore, but he obviously was able to garner a huge amount of support. And then other people became even more of a rock star persona, to the point where it almost, how do I put this? It almost kind of hurt them. Let's use Christian Horner as a perfect example, because I think he kind of has this now rock star mentality. He's obviously no longer the team principal at Red Bull and whatnot, but I feel like he almost became too diva-ish in a way, because that he wasn't like that for the prior 10 years when Red Bull and Sebastian Vettel were winning 4 world titles back in the mid 2000s. When you see something like that, and you see uh, a media outlet kind of get so heavily involved in the real inner workings of racing, where do you draw the line as someone who loves the sport of pro wrestling, in the sense of like, yeah, it's cool to go ahead and get us out there, but then also like, you got to draw the line in the sense of you don't want it to go ahead and be that you're only known for that. Like I want to be known for the racing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the one thing I can speak to is I love having women in motorsport. That is the biggest thing for me. Like when I have all my girlfriends in the paddock, Matt sometimes I'm just gone from his tent sometimes, and he'll look over and it's me talking to like one of my good friends, Juliet, or I'm talking to my friend Liz, or I'm talking to my friend Kiana. Like I have such a wonderful network in the paddock. But the thing is, I think now that there's a lot of media girls who are like, oh, this is how you get a job in F1. This is how you get a job in NASCAR. It's a lot harder than it seems. So, yeah, these job opportunities are posted, but it really is about getting in front of the teams. And I feel like when shows like Drive to Survive come out and kind of show you, it glamorizes the paddock a little bit and it shows you all the highlight reels. And then you have these social media girls who are showing you other highlight reels of what it's like to be in the paddock if they're doing like media stuff or if they're invited to the races because they have a high following, something like that. It totally skews what actually happens in the paddock.
Mm.
So it's tough. And like full transparency, I'm not even working right now. The team that I was with ended up pulling out for our SRO season. So I've just kind of been supporting Matt for the past two races, which has been really great.
Yeah.
Being a girlfriend in a paddock is very different than actually being a crew member in the
You,
paddock. I have
dude, you
like
get to be a
imposter
wag
syndrome.
though. You do get to be a
That's like
wag.
that was my
She
biggest
she
thing.
doesn't like it.
Like,
She has to do things for the team, and it's really it's
Respect
pretty
though.
great.
Respect. I
I
love
Oh
it.
yeah,
just, it's always been that like crew mentality thing. And one thing about Matt too, and I'll kind of circle back to everything. He started out with his team Auto Technic as a crew member. So
yeah.
he started out, one of our really good friends, Ryan Keeley, it's been his really great friend. And now I kind of take him as part of my heart too. He introduced Matt to Auto Technic and Matt was like, all right, cool. I'm going to hang out. I'm going to, come along. And he started what you started cleaning the cars.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, just like little part of that story was like I kind of, my good friend started working for the team and said, "Hey, this is a really good team. Maybe you should be a part of it too in some way, shape, or form." And I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, this is the series I want to be in. It's the car I want to be in. So I'll figure out any way I can to be there to do it." And yeah, the unglamorous part about becoming a professional driver sometimes is that you got to do the things that maybe you don't share, you don't talk about, and I mean, for an entire year before I raced pro, I worked for this team unpaid, flew myself to the races just so that I can be a part of the team so they can get to know my personality, my work ethic, and know that I was someone who was serious for this team in the future. And it turned out to be a really, really good decision for me because it just, yeah, I mean, it was a great group of people and they believed in me. And, that led to a test in the car. And they said, wow, this guy can actually wheel the car and put me
Right.
on their radar pretty high up. And, yeah, 3 weeks before the season started last year, I mean, we really came together super last minute to make it happen, and it's a really good story.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's like, I think one of those things where a lot of people think that, the main thing with racing is you need to have money
Sure.
to go about this, or you just get really lucky and have somebody who already has an established team and has a seat and wants to have a pro in there and kind of keep them going. But the road to get to where you want to be is really, really tough
Yeah.
sometimes. So it's like I started out working for free as well, doing hospitality. I slept in my car at Road America for a Porsche Sprint Challenge weekend. I worked for free a bunch. I lost a lot of money doing that, but it honestly was so rewarding because it's gotten me to where I am now.
right.
But it's also like you just never know what's going to happen if a team folds or if, a budget gets cut. Um, it's a really crazy industry to be in. And so I think going back to having all this media attention on racing and it being glamorized, there's also this side of it that people do not realize of those who are literally sleeping in their cars, working for free, saying they have a gig one day and then it's canceled the next. Everything is so unpredictable, but truly the people that are in the paddock and are in this sport are some of the most wonderful, passionate, loving people that I have ever met in my entire life. And I know that like the people that are around us will definitely be in our lives for, forever. So it really is a sport that is about camaraderie and passion. And if you have any room for like jadedness or just any type of bad attitude, don't even think about it, brother, because these are long days. They are hot. They're disgusting. You are on your feet for 15 hours a day, sometimes,
Depends, yeah.
a long time, and it's hot.
In
but
his
I
case,
have to.
he's seated in the car, but that means his ass hurts for like 3 hours on end.
No, yeah, that too. And I'm telling you, like, I just don't know how he's going. Like, I was watching his WRL race. He's going 150 down the back straight of Daytona,
Yeah,
and he's got one hand out the window because there's no air in this BMW he's driving, knowing very well that his face is like in this balaclava, and then his helmet has his cheeks squishing up like this, and I'm sure
yeah,
you're sweating in different parts that you didn't think could even sweat.
Oh yeah, yeah. We
While
had
other cars are like going next to you, and you're like weaving in and out, and you're
yeah.
trying to
right.
like full send it.
It's a
Absolutely not.
it's a
Could not be me.
multi-class racing game of checkers trying to play where you want to position your car to pass your in-class cars as you're getting blown by on the high
Yeah,
banks of Daytona, as you've got no airflow in your car and you're trying to like channel the air through the window to get a little breeze on your face because you know you got to be in the car for another hour.
I'm gonna have a
Like
panic attack.
it's yeah,
My chest is tight right
it
now.
doesn't sound I mean it sounds cool, but it's
it sounds
hard.
cool, but it's insane. Yeah, for anybody,
Right.
if you're watching the audio visual, the excuse me, the visual of this podcast, if you can see Sloane getting a panic attack, she's gonna be okay, but she's
Well, you can
having
see how
flashbacks
happy I
very
am
clearly.
reliving my memories. I'm like, oh, that's awesome.
I'm
Yeah.
sweating a bit. And that's another thing too, is like I've sent so many drivers in the car multiple
Yeah,
times, like qualifying and just practice sessions and test sessions and whatever. I haven't cared. I'm like, go out there, have a good time, buddy. If you do something good, that's great. When he's in the car, I am like, I just my heart rate accelerates to like 150. His
yeah,
heart rate is constantly at like a 70, maybe. My resting is probably at a 90. But when he's out there and I check my heart rate, it's easily like 150 because I'm
yeah,
just thinking about like just him. And I'm like, why do I feel this way? And I'm like, oh, it's because I love this human being that is going very, very fast. And there's a lot of fast cars. And the amount of wrecks that happen, it's just kind of inevitable that there's going to be a wreck per race. I
right.
think we've had one race this season that didn't go yellow. That was Coda.
Yep.
But yeah, it just takes everything to a whole new level when you are just connected to somebody in the car in ways that I never really expected I would be, because dating a driver was not on my bingo card ever. But
Not a bad bingo card though.
no, he's a really good one. He's a
Maybe
very
Yeah,
sweet one
sometimes
still.
you just don't consider yourself a driver. You're just like, it's like anyone else.
I'm
It's
just
just
Matt Million.
yeah, it's just what I do.
Oh, yeah.
It's just
Well,
what I do.
I got a story for that one if we want to go into that real fast. But I
Hit
mean, I
me.
guess circling back to the whole thing with media, like, yeah, I definitely, the one thing I'd like to put out there is that it looks really glamorous and it's not. It's hard work and like every other job. But if you want to get into this, like, I'm all for it. I love having people wanting to talk about how to get into it, asking the best way to get their foot in the door. But it's even the fact if someone's like, "Hey, can you get me a job?" I'm gonna be like, "I would like a job first right now because I'd like to continue paying my bills." But like, yeah, if there's an opportunity and like I can't fill it, then obviously I'd love to just give it to somebody who I know would be able to be a rock star in that.
Right.
Um, but I think the media attention, yeah, like we haven't had a ton on that side except the F1 movie, which is actually kind of crazy. And there's another
Yep.
segue into that I will share of a friend of ours who was actually in the movie. Because the first 20 minutes of the movie is IMSA. It's like the Daytona 24. We haven't seen the movie yet, so I can't
Neither have I.
fully speak. Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I can't fully speak to like what actually happens. But well, I have like two stories. I want to tell there's a million story, and then like I guess really quick, we'll give a shout out to Elliot Skier, who
Hmm.
is in the F1 movie because you can tell the details now if you
Oh,
have them.
well, I mean the opening scene of the F1 movie is it's a Rolex 24-hour scene between Wright Motorsport, who Brad Pitt is like pulled from, I believe. I haven't seen the movie either yet, but I've heard it's great. Where that's where he was kind of scouted back to go then to F1, but
Right.
my good friend Elliot Skier, who kind of helped me, guided me on my journey through racing. That was his car for the race, and that was his livery for the race, and he got to wear the movie helmet, and he got to kind of stunt double Brad Pitt for that movie,
That's
which
so
really,
sick.
really big bucket list item for him, which was super cool to have him up on the box during the real race so that he could educate Brad on everything that's going on. Because I mean, Brad's a professional, he
Right.
wants to know everything that he can to make the movie as realistic as he can provide
Yeah,
it.
I
So,
mean, he's an executive. He was an executive producer. He was the
oh
executive
yeah,
producer of this movie, not
yeah.
just the star and whatnot. So him along with Joseph oh my god, the name of the director is escaping me right now, but he also directed Top Gun 2 Maverick, which is freaking
Oh
gas
God, I
movie too.
forgot who it is. Um,
Joseph
Mr.
Joseph
Dad's
Kaczynski.
expertise.
Kaczynski, I think that's what it is.
oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
dude
yeah,
is
yeah.
dude is brilliant. But
Yeah,
like
he's great.
I love the fact that Brad went so deep into the research, and he's also a Formula One fan, so that obviously helps to try and bring a level of realism. They got essentially the whole F1 grid on that movie. It's kind of crazy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they were filming it, I think, at the British Grand Prix, and then
Yeah.
when they filmed it at the 2024 Rolex, and I was there, and I remember because like that was like my two worlds colliding because there
Yeah.
was the entire crafty setup right by where I was paddocked, and I found one of the ADs on set, and I was like, listen, I've been a PA in LA for 3 years. Like, if you guys need help, I'm here for just the roar, and I'm available next week if you guys need help for the Rolex side of things. Like, I know the paddock, I know people. And he gave me his number and I sent my resume and they were like, we just are fully maxed out, unfortunately. But that was kind of crazy of like just my two worlds colliding that way. And then I had friends who were actually on the AD side of it for the movie and second unit stuff.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. But I think even with that attention, IMSA's growing, which is exciting. Same with SRO, same with WRL, all these other sports car racing stuff. But like there is more to racing than just open wheel and just what NASCAR, what do you clarify?
Stock car.
Stock
Stock car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So sports car is definitely like I think one that a lot of people should put their attention towards now because it is super fan friendly as well. Tickets are like $35, $40.
You get all the access that you can possibly ever want, a lot closer than something like F1.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
And then on top of that, I think what's always made sports car racing so cool, and by the way, that's not to say it Formula One or IndyCar or NASCAR, they are extremely cool. But
Sure.
me as an
Mhm.
automotive enthusiast, me as an actual car enthusiast, this podcast being about car culture, when I see sports car racing and it looks like a normal car, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? It's like, oh wow. Because the BMW that you're racing, is it? I take it it's an M4.
Yes, it is an
Yeah. Okay.
M4 race car turned into a race
Yeah,
car.
exactly. So like it's like, oh, okay, cool. You're racing an M4, and then you walk over and you might have an M4, and you're like, hey, they actually look kind of like. Oh, and on top of that, they're both running a 3-liter twin turbo. Who
Yep.
would have thought? And you might be driving an automatic or a 6-speed, but then obviously the race car is going to have a sequential, more than likely, right? And but at least there's something about it that it's like when you go back to like the days of like the the British touring car championship is still a thing these days, but in its heyday, like in the 80s,
There you go.
when you
Yeah.
had, the Mercedes with the Cosworth engines and you had E30s running, you go to Goodwood. Like I love watching the Goodwood
So
revival
good.
and seeing the
Love it.
Ford
Yeah.
Galaxies racing against these little Mini Coopers. And you're
Oh
like,
yeah. Favorite.
the Galaxies are getting like super tail happy. It's kind of like a 460 big block, and then the Mini Cooper's taking it on the corners, and oh god, it's so good.
Okay.
But that's the type of stuff that I like. And you bring this up now, so I'll just ask the question. You being a sports car racer, Matt, I would assume that are you a historian of it from prior to and whatnot? And if so, my question is, what do you think has been the reason as to why sports car racing, while popular, but not as popular as it used to be, and especially when they're so familiar, they're so similar to the regular car enthusiasts' cars. Like I would have thought that would make it way more popular. Am I wrong?
You'd think so, but I think like open wheel racing and stock car racing is almost so abstract from the normal day-to-day
Sure.
thing is that people see it and go, wow, that's spectacular because that's so different.
Yeah.
But there is a very particular part of my heart that loves sports car racing because you're driving dreams, you're driving the cars that people see that they lust over,
That's a
that they have on their
bar.
walls.
That is a bar, by the
Yeah.
way.
Bar
Sorry.
right there.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, because it's what got me into it, and
Yeah.
again, most of my opportunities in racing just naturally came in sports car racing, but I
Yeah.
had a couple options to take the stock car and open wheel route, and I wanted to stay sports car racing because that's kind of just where my heart was because
Sure.
let's see, around 20 when I was about 12, 13 years old getting into race cars, I saw the Nürburgring 24 hours for the first time and the Le Mans 24 hours for the first time and you see these cars that again I grew up playing video games, Gran Turismo, Forza and you know, lusted over these cars and loved them. And then you see these things at night racing in the middle of the rainstorms and
Yeah.
multi-class and driver changes. And you're just like, that is so cool.
So
I
when
love
you
that.
were so when you would have been 13, because you're 25 now, we're in 2025. So this would have been somewhere about like 2013, 2014.
Yep.
So this is like I'm going to use this as an example because it's the first car that came to my mind. This is like right at the end of like the Chevy Corvette C6R, beginning of the C7R,
Oh
which to
yeah,
me are some of the coolest race cars ever. The side pipe exhaust on a C6 with this big old wing, and then you're just like grabbing gears. Ah,
for sure.
sorry.
Yeah, big
Forza
part that got
Forza
me in.
4 just popped into my head right now.
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
that's so cool.
Forza Motorsport 4 was a big part of my childhood and played that with my friends growing up. And we always made these car classes, and then they had all the American Le Mans Series cars in that game at the time. Yeah, very very cool. Captivated me.
I
Oh,
liked
so
Wii
good.
Sports a lot.
My wife does too. Nah,
Yeah, I was a
she
big Mario Kart girl.
yeah, let's go. Oh, I'm so mad. My sons, we have Mario Kart 8 for the
Eight.
for what's the not what's
Is it the
what Wii are
Mario
we in?
Party thing?
Oh, they've had
No,
more.
it's Mario Kart. It's Super Mario Kart 8, which was the latest one that came out like a year ago or 2 years ago, and they lost the disc, and I'm
Oh,
pissed. And I need them to
yeah,
find it because it's the only game that I'm still good at because they've started to beat me
yeah.
really hard in Super Smash Brothers, and I'm like,
I don't play that.
yeah,
No,
well,
I spent all my time like unlocking all the characters, Rainbow Road. I was like that was my
yeah.
thing. I had Forza, and I think I played it a little bit. I'm not really sure. I had it on the like the PlayStation thingy.
Forza would have been Xbox. Gran Turismo would have been PlayStation.
What?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We had an Xbox 360. You did
Okay, so
correct
then
me.
you would have, yeah. So that would
yeah,
have
you
been
had those.
Probably Forza Motorsport 2 or Forza
The
Horizon 1.
lowest version that there was. So I was like,
Yeah,
driving around something or whatever. I had no idea what I was doing. But yeah, I think it should be more popular just because it is more accessible to
yeah,
people. And I mean that being said, just the amount of camera time that a lot of these cars get is pretty damn good.
sure.
The amount of stuff we can do for sponsors is pretty damn good. Just bringing people into the paddock, treating them like
Well, just
VIPs.
straight up being affiliated with
Insane.
BMW, which is one of the biggest marks in the world. Bavarian Motor Works, man. Like,
Is that
however
what it
you,
stands for?
yeah,
Yep.
Oh,
yeah,
shit.
Oh, I
yeah. You
got
learn
tested on
something.
that at the factory. I knew that for sure.
That's
But
good to know.
Yeah.
yeah, no, for sure. It's a great. I mean, I love BMW. Like, actually, now that we have a BMW factory driver on the
Well, I wouldn't
podcast,
go that far.
okay,
Academy driver. I wish I was factory. We're getting there.
Academy driver. We're on our way. After tonight's podcast, we're
On our
there.
way.
We're on our way.
I'm here to tell you, Matthew, that the car that I've been, everybody who listens to this podcast, I think it's going to be episode number 100. I think this is 157 or 58, right around there. I've been eyeing an F87 M2 CS for like 2 years. Can't afford
Absolutely.
it because they have not dropped in price yet
Not
enough,
even.
but they have dropped in price enough from when they were at COVID time because COVID time they were like over 100 G's, and now you can get one at like 75, and I'm like
Oh yeah.
almost there, not quite,
Oh.
almost there. So for anybody who's listening from the BMW Academy, I am the host of this podcast. I love your cars. If you want to sponsor the show, on top of continuing to sponsor Matt and giving Sloane a job, BMW is okay with us. It is a-okay with us, everybody.
Big
So,
fan.
big
Real big
fans
fan.
here. Big fans here. Yeah, I actually, let me tell you something. I mentioned that car like almost every other podcast, that or an M2 comp, because honestly, M2 comps are a little bit less expensive and everything. But Misano blue with the gold wheels, just you can't really go wrong with it.
Yeah.
But I do want to ask you, I want to ask you guys both a question because we've gone so many different places within our conversation. We have so much more left. But I am curious, and Sloan, I'll start with you. With you basically, let's call it you being involved in production, whether
Mm.
it's on race car, on the race car side or on the film side, obviously. What would you classify? Let's stick to cars for 1 second, and say has been your biggest inspiration or one of your inspirations when you were a kid and now as an adult and doing this thing that you have obviously have worked very hard to go ahead and get to at this juncture in time. What would you consider your biggest inspiration, whether it was on the automotive side, or the race car side, or even if it was on the film side to kind of get you to this point?
Honestly, I think I've just been a huge person that's had a lot of passion for the things that I love in my life.
Yeah.
And when I found people who share that same type of passion, I just like want to run with them for as long as I can.
Oh,
So
I
I
rock
think
with that.
that
Cool.
the biggest thing is oh, I don't even know how to word this. It's such a good question. The passion that you find in film and the passion that you find in motorsport are two very, very different things. I found
Sure.
that there was a lot of jaded people on the film side that were like, you're gonna walk onto set one day and just be like, oh, it's just another day on set. I never, ever felt that way on a film set. Every time I walked into something new, like the set deck people would be working overnight, that was their shift to change everything around. And I'd walk in and I'd be like, holy fucking shit. There's a huge fucking spaceship right there. I know I'm gonna get to go sit in that goddamn spaceship. And I know that there's gonna be these freaking alien Battlestar Galactica shit things that are happening around me and I'm gonna have the best fucking time. Or I'd walk onto set for like Chicago Med and there'd be like dead bodies everywhere. Like, I mean, they didn't really show that necessarily, but like in hindsight, the shit that people don't see behind the scenes, fucking terrifying. And if there are any people on the production side listening to this, so mean because they would take the cadavers that look like actual fucking people, just so you know, those cadavers on the surgery beds, I could go on a whole tangent, I'm gonna keep going. They are
Please.
made like modeled after like real people. Like some of the producers are like, yeah, my daughter really wants to be like fucking cadaver, so let's make her into one. And then we're like chopping up this fucking producer's daughter, essentially. And my old crew guys would like they like say like, "Oh, Sloan, will you go grab that?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, sure, copy that, whatever." And I'd jump around the corner and there'd be a fucking body right there, and they'd be like, "Oh," just scaring me. And I really, it was not very cool. It was not fun at all. But it was like every day was a new adventure for me and I loved it. So I knew that I wanted to find something for the rest of my life that would carry me that like through with that passion.
Yeah.
A strike hit film, the whole production side in 2022. And that's when I fell into racing by accident. But finding my way into the paddock and then meeting all these people that were so passionate, the same exact level that I found in film, I was like, oh, I have to do this. Like, there's no way that I can't make this a thing. So I think the I can't even remember like what the full on question was, but the passion that I felt my entire life for the things that I love, I found equally in film and racing, but I found it a little bit more in racing. And then when I met this guy and his passion for what he does and the dedication to his craft and just to him as a human being, it was like I know I've found the people that I want to be with for the rest of my life. It is
Right.
the feeling to have all these different enthusiasts around you and a lot of these people come from super different backgrounds. A lot of them are veterans. A lot of them might have grown up with watching their dad work on cars. A lot of them have just been enthusiasts for, their entire lives and found their way into racing because of his buddy knew this guy and that dude's goldfish died that one time and then they walked into a bar and here they are. So, but at the end of the day, I think it's all been about the passion and the dedication for the the love of the sport and the love of
Right.
film. Um, and and there are some mechanics that care about winning, but there's a lot of mechanics and a lot of team members that are just so stoked to be here and to be in the paddock and to be working. And that's the main thing that I think
Right.
anybody who wants to work in motorsports should take away is like you have really shit days, you have really great days. But at the end of the day, just being stoked to be there is like what will carry you through for the rest of time. So
Oh
I
God.
hope that answered your question. I feel like that
It
might have.
no, 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 it did because the essential was trying to go ahead and see what inspired you. And there's not a person that inspired you. It's the people who are passionate about what they do every single day are the ones who completely inspire you to go ahead and be doing what you're doing and what you've done for such a long time and whatnot. And listen, dude, if you're rocking with someone who's actually passionate about what it is that they do, that person's gonna probably they'll give you the giggles because you can see how much of the giggles they have. With Matt and I,
Exactly.
we were laughing because there was so much passion behind everything what you were saying, and I was like, oh my gosh, I wish I could go ahead and get as excited about my day-to-day job that is not this podcast as you are and whatnot, because I think half the planet wishes that they couldn't have that same level of enthusiasm, and that I think is absolutely tremendous. And I mean, Matt, you don't go to a cubicle to go ahead and look at a computer all day. Your office is you get into a BMW M4 race car, and that's literally your office and whatnot. You started when you started karting 5 years old. Um, Obviously there's I'm sure that you were had a bunch of inspirations and whatnot. I'll put it to you, I'll ask it to you this way. Who was the driver that you feel has either inspired you the most up until this point in time, in whatever series that they may be in? And then but this is the twofold question. I want to know who has inspired you up to this point, but I'm curious to also know who you emulate your style towards as well, whether they be in F1 or in NASCAR or in Indy, or maybe people who we don't know within sports car. I'm very curious to know. I'll let you take that answer wherever you want to.
Yeah, very interesting. Well, I always grew up as a as like a Tony Stewart fan. He was a
Shout
NASCAR
out to Tony
driver.
Stewart. Let's go.
Yeah,
Okay. All
he was
right.
always kind of like my guy growing up, and like he was kind of he was kind of known to be a hothead a little bit.
Yeah, for all the Jimmy Johnsons in the world who and I love Jimmy Johnson, but we need more Tony Stewarts. You know what I'm saying? Like that because
Yeah.
he was almost that bad boy. He was the
Oh yeah.
bad
He
boy
the thing
of
is
his
he just
era.
like wore his heart on his sleeve, and if he
Yeah.
was unhappy with something, he'd call you out right after the race, but then he could also get in the car and just absolutely deliver and
Yeah.
just win championships, win races, and he
He
just
won
didn't.
two championships, right? Is that right? Two
Three.
sprint
Yeah,
cu- three
he
three
won
sprint
his third
cars.
for his own team, which was kind of like an inspiration for me too, where it's
How
like this
big of a
guy
flex
leaves
is that, by the way?
yeah, leaves Joe Gibbs Racing and starts Stewart Haas Racing and goes out and wins a championship, and I think his like third year at the team. So
Amazing.
pretty cool. But I don't know. He was kind of always my inspiration growing up. I always respected him as a driver, and he turned out to be a great team owner for a while.
Yeah.
But I think, I mean, obviously, my whole career, we talked about Elliot Skier earlier, who helped guide Brad Pitt for the F1 movie. He's kind of been my best friend and my guide through the sport, ever since I was 12, 13 years old. And I think a lot of it too was he's a little older than me and he's, been through some of these ranks and he's seen some more life than I have. But really, it was just his passion for it. I mean, he's a big Porsche guy, and I can say that as a BMW guy now, but we clash a little bit. But it was beyond that, just like his passion for it. He just knew everything about every freaking make, model, car, race thing. He was so nerdy about the setups and making sure that he was the best athlete he can be in the car. And his passion just really, I don't know. I mean, we both have gone through hard days in the sport. We've had a lot of years where we've both looked at each other and went, man, are we doing the right thing? Are we really chasing the right career path here? And, we've just kind of stayed true to who we are in terms of like, no, I mean, I think we're doing the right thing, but we got to find the right people and, find the people that harness our passion, find the right, whatever that is, team owners or the right clients that we coach,
Yeah.
that we make our income from, that see that passion in us. And, yeah, he's always kind of kept my fire going in a way because he's kind of made it work his own way, just being himself and being the best he can be with himself. And yeah, he's just a freaking badass race car driver too. Big shout out to him. He's helped me a
Yeah, for
lot.
sure. For sure. Is he someone that you've tried to go ahead and not only emulate your career, but is it obviously him racing for Porsche? He's obviously racing a rear engined car where you're obviously driving front mid engine, excuse me, with the BMW M4 and whatnot. Is it tough to go ahead and emulate your driving style when someone's driving an entirely different car than you are, even though they're both sports cars? Or can you go ahead and take like, or maybe is it easier for you to go ahead and say, hey, he drives a weirder setup than I do. If I can go ahead and emulate that, it will allow me to be better in this car. Does that kind of make sense? Is that
For
an
sure.
assumption to make? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely become a specialist for Porsches over the last few years. Like, I mean, he is unstoppable when it comes to those cars and that weight distribution. And like, I've taken a lot of pride in the last 6, 7 years of my career. I've raced a lot of BMWs, so I take that kind of specialty as my own. And yeah, I mean, we had a funny story where we actually raced in the same BMW a few years ago, and
Who was faster?
I Oh, I was because I had to
Attaboy.
school him a little bit, and I showed him what's up, and he's like, "Hey, at the end of the day, you're the BMW guy. You know how to wheel this car. You know the special tricks. Like, I'm fine being P2 to you. No big
Yeah.
deal. Same thing I'd feel to him in another situation. But I don't know. I mean, a lot of it was emulation on kind of the background side and how he approached, his clients and his preparation and
Yeah.
his passion for the sport. At the end of the day, as long as you have all those elements and you put yourself in the right spots in the sport to shine, it's kind of on you to just be that performer at that point. But getting there is kind of the harder part. You need to have good friends with the same kind of driven goal set as you to get you to those places,
Sure.
and it motivates you to be the best you can in those situations.
Oh, that's so cool, dude. That's,
Yeah.
it's really cool to go ahead and have friends who actually give a damn about what you do, but also just a damn about you. Uh, and what can be I want to how no, I'll say it the way that I want to. In a lonely career path, other than obviously you have your family with you and whatnot, but the reason why I say a lonely career path is because let's just be honest with each other. Not everybody can be a race car driver. They just can't. The skill level is too tough. The money is obviously an enormous aspect, which I'm going to go ahead and bring up in a second. Not because I want to talk about money, but I just want to bring up the real stuff when it comes to it and whatnot. And then also, um, when you're as good as you, and when you're as good as the people that are around you and whatnot, the you can be friends with that. It's interesting because in racing you can go ahead and be friends with people, but when you're on track, you get so competitive. Like in whatever series you're in, listen, you guys can be homeboys and homegirls outside. You can go ahead and get a beer after the race, but like when you guys are on track, like I'm not trying to murder you, but like just know like it we said it was on site earlier. It's on site again. Like you ruined my line. I'm gonna let you have it and whatnot. Like we see that in stock car. That's why I appreciate stock car racing so much because the bumping is real. Like Lord knows if you did that in Formula One, let's 20 say Ocon got another 50-second penalty.
Right.
Yeah. Keep stacking them for
Honestly, dude, at this point, like he'll get, he'll retire in like 5 years, and then he'll have so many penalty points that it'll actually go to his grandchildren. It'll
Oh,
go
for
to
sure.
another generation.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
Shout out to Esteban Ocon.
Shout out to you, brother.
Shout out to you, my French brother. How do you say brother in French? Is it mi frère? Yeah, I think it's
You're
frère.
talking to two very
Oh
white
man.
people over here. We
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
don't
I
pretty
know.
sure.
studied French in high school. I don't remember anything. I went to Le Mans a couple years ago. Again, don't remember anything. That sounds right.
I went to
Okay,
Paris
fair
for
enough.
42 hours one time. That's all I got
I've never been to Europe, actually. I need to really change that.
to go.
A lot of good
I need
races
to,
out
well, dude, I know. I'd love to go. I was actually, what, funny enough, I was rewatching Ford versus Ferrari, another biannual, or not, when I say,
there. Good one.
excuse me, a multiple watch a year type movie. It is so good. So good. And
Yeah.
whatnot. But yeah, I'd love to go to France. It would be great. I'd love to go to Italy. I'd love to go to the UK, Germany, obviously to the Nürburgring, Spain. You know, shout out to the Greeks. I want to go everywhere. I want to
Everywhere.
It's too
explore.
many places, too little
Too many
time.
The
too many
funny thing
races.
is your background's like French, right?
Yeah, half my family, yeah.
So you said in the beginning it
So
like
it
asking
really
if your
is
pronunciation is the
million.
same.
I'm just kidding.
So it is million.
So allegedly in my family, there used to be like I don't know if it's an apostrophe is not the right word, but there is like a dash between the M and the I. So it used to be Mion, but
Oh,
that was too difficult. So then they were just like, I get rid of it. Million. Oh, that's cool. That fits.
But the
It's
thing
American.
makes more
is
sense.
Yeah.
he's a good driver first and foremost. My drivers that I had for my season, they were pretty good too. But
Yeah.
a lot of the time over the radio, my engineer would go, Matt Million is behind you. It is Matt Million in the 53. And I would just sit there and I'm like, it's million. It is literally million. But I kept it all to like, I just kept my cool because
Sure.
we were talking, but I didn't really want like I didn't know if anything was gonna happen. I didn't want people thinking I was telling secrets to the other team because we were competing pretty heavily. Um, but they would just keep saying million. And he's like, you can tell them that it's million. And I said, absolutely not. And then so I was like, I'll never have to tell them. It's fine. Um, but yeah, that's a funny little thing. Like
Yeah.
he would give us the run for our money, but he's always been very good on track too, where it's like he made
Right.
some really good moves that avoided a lot of big issues, I would say. So I think that is another thing to say with the racing thing and kind of leading into money. It's like when you tap the car in any way, that's 5 grand. Kind of,
Right.
essentially. It's so much money that goes into all these different repairs that when you want to be a driver, when you want to be into this career, if you don't have all the funds backing you, sometimes you're not going to get in the car. I had a driver one time show up to Daytona. They hadn't paid for the season yet. And our team literally said, bye, you're not getting in the car. And they called in a reserve driver to then drive and then ended up winning the VP Challenge race that one time. That was
Yeah.
that one time. I don't really know. But that's kind of like if the check isn't clear, you're not getting in the car.
Right.
So that's really like the biggest thing is it just costs a lot of money and they all want to see the money. And if you don't have the money, they don't want to see you.
Okay.
So
I'm so glad that you went ahead and brought that up, Sloan, because I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna ask the hard questions if you guys don't mind.
Do it.
go for
Um,
it.
because as someone who is a fan of the sport, um, I also, we talked about there's so much talent on out there, but especially, and you see this in Formula One all the time. You don't see it quite as much in some of the other series in NASCAR. You don't see it quite as much. It's a lot more even. In IndyCar, for the most part, it's relatively even. In Formula One, for a series that claims itself, we have the best drivers in the world. You can sure fork up a ton of money to whoever you want to go ahead and have a sponsorship or bring in a huge sponsorship, and all of a sudden, you get a seat in the car. No disrespect to Lance Stroll, but his dad literally owns the team. And
Yes.
I don't like Lance Stroll. I tolerate Lance Stroll. Like,
As we
he
all do.
right, but he was good enough, and I always have to
Yeah.
go ahead and give
Yeah,
the
he's
caveat. He
talented.
was good enough to do well in F3. He was good enough to do well in F2, and even though he has not been anywhere near as consistent in Formula One, he has gotten pole positions. He beat Valtteri Bottas in Baku and got a P3 in a Williams,
In
in
Williams.
2017.
That was
Damn
a
it.
crazy race.
That was
Yeah.
crazy, right? And
Crazy
Lance
race.
Stroll, here he is, like, he's just like zooming past Bottas in like an extremely fast Mercedes. That was the constructor winning Mercedes of 2017, and he beats him at Baku. I bring all that up because I'm trying to tell people Lance Stroll ain't that bad. He was better
No,
than
not at all.
he's better than Nikita Mazepin. He was better than I love Nicholas Latifi. Although
Mm.
me with standing on business, if I see him the next time, if I ever go to Montreal and I
Outside.
run into Latifi, like, my guy, we need to have a talk. Like, why? Like, you are the only reason Lewis Hamilton is not an 8-time world champion, bro. Like, we need to have a conversation. I bring all that up to say Nicholas Latifi is another person who went ahead and brought in a ton of money and was able to. And by the way, again, it's not that he's bad. He beat Russell several times in their first season together. But Formula One basically tells you we have all the 20 best drivers in the world and a couple of really, 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 really good reserve drivers. But money talks.
Mhm.
The sport of racing as a whole, if you go all the way back to the 50s, if you go back all the way to the 40s, it was run what you brung. And if you were fast, you were straight up fast. The sport continued to evolve, and some people had more than others. But now it's gotten to a point that it is so expensive that Matt and Sloan, do we really actually know? I'm just going to say this. Do we actually really know who the best drivers really are? Because if there's so much money
Yeah.
backing them, you know what I mean? Like, how do I know? And I say this as respectfully as possible. How do I know that you are maybe you are actually better than Lando and Oscar, but because you don't have $100 million sponsorship behind you, we're never going to find out.
Correct.
Where do we draw the line on that BS?
It's a very blurred line, and it's so hard to see from outside the sport. And even when you're in the sport, sometimes it's
Yes,
hard. You don't know what deals people have. You don't know the opportunities that they were given. You don't know what their family connections are to certain teams and things. And like, it just makes it easier for some people to succeed in the sport, having that financial backing. And again, like all these people that make it at a high level, even if they bring in tons and tons of money that end up taking maybe someone who's a little better out of the seat, like they're still good at the end of the day. None of these
right.
people, unless they're crashing every weekend and they're last every weekend, are that bad.
Like Lindsay
Um,
Lohan's brother in Harvey Fully Loaded. Facts.
Right.
Facts.
But yeah,
Straight back.
it's something that like I've always dealt with a lot, especially in the last, 5, 6, 7 years of my career that I've really had to take head on because there became a point with, my parents were obviously I'm not making money as a 12-year-old, I'm not being able to afford this myself, but they hit a point where they're like, we're done. We're not able to help you. This is on you. We don't own a giant company. This isn't going to be pumped into your racing forever. We don't have any connections to the sport. We don't have anyone that's going to help you. This is on you, and it's a tough, tough sport to make it without those things. And it's really humbled me. And it's, I've had to do a lot of work in the last few years to find the opportunities that didn't require money or that required very, very little money and just build those connections with those team owners or those people that would allow me the grace of driving their cars and showing myself. And it's tough, and it's just you don't know the blurred lines. It's like somebody could look at me and say, "Oh, this guy's bringing, seven figures to this team and he's guaranteed to be there." When really, I haven't been able to, I can't, and it's like it's really determined off of your work ethic at that point. But it's like, hey, my work ethic and what I put in isn't the same as somebody else that can just grab that and bring it to the team and override me.
Right.
It's really tough, and it's tough to see that. But I mean, at the end of the day, as long as, the series is putting on a spectacle that people want to come to and pay the ticket price and see the cars, and they're putting the cars on track because all that money affords the crew and the tires and the experience, I don't know. Does it really matter at that point? And of course it
Right.
does, but it varies, and obviously it's like, yeah, you get people that can do it and they do it because they can, and you get people that they feel like it's their destiny to do it. And
Sure.
like on the back of my helmet, I have a Latin phrase called amor fati, which means love of your fate, because I look at motorsport like it was my fate. It was given to me early, but it was something that I've had to fight really hard for. And
Right.
actually, my helmet design is in the scheme of a kind of like a Greek Roman gladiator, because that's always kind of how I've seen my career, and I've had to fight against people that have had it easier for me. I'm not saying that I've had it the hardest, and I definitely
Sure.
haven't, but it's always a fight, to prove that you are the one, that you are someone that should be in that car over anyone else, despite money, despite talent. It's
Yeah.
just what are your X factors to be in that seat?
Right. That's why it's always like so interesting, for especially back in like the 70s and the 80s and the 90s and even I mean all the way up until now, where Williams is still like I'll use Williams as an example. Williams was is they now have a what do you call it? Capital a venture capitalist firm that's behind
Mhm.
them, funding them and stuff like that. But you go all the way back to the 80s. That was Frank Williams
Oh
who was
yeah.
funding that team. And you had Benetton funding that team, and you've got all these other, before Ferrari became Ferrari, Enzo was funding that team. That's why he built cars so he could go ahead and fund that team,
Mhm.
and whatnot. And it's, you know, now in different series and everything, whether it's sports car, whether IndyCar is a little bit different. Everybody is their own team, and they just have some manufacturer support. But for the most part, IndyCar is very mom and pop driven. Some might be very successful. Some are like, oh, this is literally we're here by the skin of our teeth. And then you got Formula One, which is basically mostly now all manufacturers, with the exceptions of Red Bull. Oh, well, that just happens to be the biggest energy drink company on the planet, right?
Right.
Haas is a I still don't really know what Haas does. I still don't even know why
Yeah,
they're in
CNC
Formula One.
machine, I guess.
They
Yeah.
they make machines, right? Exactly. Once more, Cadillac to me is the real ST,
For sure.
and exactly, you know what I mean. And so and when I look at Formula One, I look at it and I'm like, man, it's you almost compare it like I'm a big baseball fan, right? You've got the big markets and you've got the small markets. It's funny. The Arizona Diamondbacks, whom I love, I root for them, and I root for the New York Yankees, which are two completely different things.
So
I recognize
different.
that. So different, I know, but I'm Puerto Rican, so I root for the Yankees, obviously, and the New York influence is heavy in Puerto Rico, and then being a native Arizonan, love the Arizona Diamondbacks. We're considered what I would call like a mid tier team, mid market, excuse me, mid market and whatnot. And so you look at Formula One, and you've got the heavy manufacturers, and then you've got the straight up non manufacturers, and like their budget is big. Like Mercedes' budget is disgusting, as is Red Bull's, as is Ferrari's, uh, McLaren, even to an extent. But then you go ahead and hell, Alpine's budget is astronomical, and yet they somehow, some way have a enormously shitty car. But then you've got these like really small tiers, and it's like, and I get it. It's like it's the execution, but execution can to me only go so far. Like how, like basically, how do I word this? Like, how do we, how do we, um, level out the playing field a little bit better in a variety of different series. That's what I wanted to go ahead and say. Because and it's tough to say that obviously you were in the BMW Racing Academy, so you've got BMW has the love for motorsport that they always have for the past, let's call it a century, basically, right? And everything. But there might be some other sports cars teams out there that maybe it is kind of like what I just described, like Williams and stuff like that. Like, how do we even out that playing field just in the series themselves? Does that make sense?
I feel like I want to interject for a second because I think this
Please,
is a
yeah,
great segue into talking about BMW Academy because the main thing is like it was opened up to I think anybody who had driven an
Yeah,
M4.
anyone who had raced the M4 GT4 in that year.
So
that's
from there though,
sick.
they like narrowing down everybody who was going to be involved in it. I think that you can speak to different things in
That's
history.
fair. That is fair. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
that's where
saying?
I think you should kind of talk about it because
Yeah.
that really tests people on what it means to actually like a car is a car in a sense. Like what you're set up with is what you're set up with. A lot of people can cheat with their cars, a lot of people can do a lot of things, but I think what he can speak to about the things that they put him through in Italy is
Yeah.
actually a really great way to answer your question. So I kind of want you to like talk about that because I think that could be a really, really good insight
Yeah,
to
please.
give.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
I'm
mean, there's
sorry
a
if it took
million
me a while
different.
to go ahead and set up the question. I just wanted
All
to make
good.
sure that I wasn't like either overstepping my boundaries or stepping on
No,
any
not at
toes. I
all.
just, as a fan from the outside, I think these are questions that I want to know. And maybe people either have the same questions as I do, or maybe they don't. And to those that don't, sorry, I don't give a fuck. It's my podcast. I want to ask it.
Yeah.
So please go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, just touch on the original question, but yeah, like fairness is a tough thing to gauge in motorsport. When you see
Yes,
F1's
it is.
example, it's like you get teams that have all this stuff. It's like, of course they're winning. They've got all the resources.
Unless you're
It's a
Ferrari, who
little
can't figure out a strategy to save their life. But yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
yeah,
you can't buy strategy, can you?
no,
Yeah, I don't know. And like sports car racing is a bit more fair, I would say, in a way, because now in
fair.
pro sports car racing, we've got homologated cars. So like
Yes.
really all the cars are homologated to the same class. So the series can take the performance and they can make them as equal as possible. And they don't always do it perfectly, but it's
Mhm.
always pretty dang close, to balance a BMW and a Porsche and a McLaren and a Ford. And like, I think that's what gives sports car racing such an allure. You do have this sense of fairness, but at the end of the day, in the background, you've got teams that have triple the budget that can go testing, that can try different setup tweaks, that can have these resources, and that's why they end up doing better than the teams that can't, even if it looks
Right.
fair. It's a tough thing to gauge from the outside. But to go back to BMW M Racing Academy, and something that was pretty darn fair, in my opinion, was a program that they put on where they sent it to all the customer teams, and they said, hey, if you were a driver that raced our car last year, send in your application. If we like you, we're going to be picking 12 people to go to Munich, and we're going to put you through a freaking test and multiple tests over the course of 2, 3 days at the factory in Munich to determine if you're what we want for our brand. If you're something that you can represent us on track and off track. And sent in my application. Didn't think too much of it. I'm like, oh, this is a cool opportunity. Maybe I'll go and get a little experience. And they sent back something a couple weeks later and said, "Hey, we're doing the evaluation in Munich. We love your application. We think that you're the right fit for something like this. Do you want to come to Munich and get evaluated? Oh, by the way, it's in 12 days." And I'm like, "Okay, well, I guess I gotta make sure everything's up to date and I can get out of country real quick and
I was gonna
go to the
say,
freaking BMW
when
headquarters."
was this, by the way? How this was like recently,
This
right?
was November last year. Yeah.
November last year. So it's kind of, you know, yeah, 12 days is crazy on a turnaround
Yeah.
like that.
Oh yeah, and I was like in a World Racing League weekend at Watkins Glen at the time, so I wasn't even home, and I got the email, and I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to try driving better this weekend. Wow, I'm motivated right now. So yeah, go to Munich, and they picked 12 of us globally. Two Americans went, and then yeah, people from all around the world.
Yeah.
And yeah, they put us through a whole test of fitness tests and simulator tests and media tests and just assessed, if we were the package that the brand was looking for to represent BMW customer racing, for their customer teams, the teams that do spend the money to buy the M4 GT4 and race it and showcase, BMW as a brand on track,
Absolutely.
and these cars that people can relate to. So yeah, luckily I flew back home after doing the best job that I could for those 2 days and freaking out that I was in Munich, at BMW's headquarters. And somebody who always dreamed of that and dreamed of making it as a factory level. And I go, wow, this
Yeah.
is freaking cool. This is special. Really,
That's
really
so
special.
rad.
And
That's so rad.
and in your head as a competitor, you're like, I don't know if I did enough. I did the best I could, but this guy went faster than me, yada yada, whatever. And I remember landing in LAX, being completely jet lagged out of my mind, and it was the text of, welcome to the family. You did great. We're going to send you out more information soon. And I'm like, well, cool. My jet lag is not important anymore. I guess I'll just
Right?
be tired and be really
That's the
happy.
caffeine shot that you needed, bro.
Oh, absolutely. But yeah, and it's been a great program. It really helped me get back in the seat this year.
Sure.
Again, as someone who's not had the financials come easy in the sport, it's another leverage piece to bring to a team to say, hey, I'm the representative for BMW and Motorsport this year. We need to make this happen and we need to
Right.
get back in the car and we need to put a season together. Um, but yeah, I don't know. To tie back to the original question of fairness, I don't know. It's tough. Some of these programs are all different. There's different shootouts for drivers, and sometimes people pay to get into the shootouts. And this one was just like, hey, do the best you can, and we're gonna pick the ones that we like the most. And yeah, got pretty fortunate.
That's awesome, dude. In the back of my head, I'm thinking as you're explaining all that, and you talk about that you're the only American that made it onto the team. And I say this as lovingly to BMW and whatnot, but America wins again.
Oh.
What I'm saying? I love you, BMW. I need you to know that. But at the same time, hurrah.
San Diego.
Right.
San Diego, stand up.
That's
Let's
We're like a
go.
town that lays down more than stands up. I don't
For
know.
sure. Like,
actually very
Yeah,
funny.
we're at the
that's
beach.
very,
Fine.
yeah.
That was really funny. I'll give you 10 points for that one.
I do too. I can see Matt like surfing a wave at one of the like what's one of the beaches that
Don't
you
get
go.
us started on that.
Oh,
He doesn't know how to surf yet.
I want to surf
He
so
wants
bad.
to surf so bad.
wait, you're a native San Diego kid and you've never learned how to surf?
We don't want to talk about it.
All right,
I
we're
grew
not
up
gonna
on
go there.
mountains and cars. I don't know.
We do want to talk about it, but it's just one of those things where he's like, I'm gonna install a surf rack on my car. And then
Well,
he's like,
you know what?
just kidding, I'm gonna install a bike rack.
To be fair, the kid has been focusing on trying to drive a car really, really fast for the last 20
Yeah, no, I
years.
don't hold anything against
You know what I'm
him. But
saying?
I
Like,
think it's this dream of wanting to surf that we're not there yet. And so I'm just
yeah.
like, we will get there.
I'm so
All
close.
right,
He's
fair
so
enough.
close.
We're so close. I'm telling you, dude. Like, once you go ahead and make it into like, let's with once you make it into the most top series, and I think that's the goal of like, okay, once I make it there, I will take a weekend to learn how to surf. I think that's a goal.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Sloan, he mentioned a lot of the media training, and so which brings me back up to you and everything. And I'm curious because again, we brought up Drive to Survive and everything, but I'm bringing this up because you clearly are very so heavily invested on the logistics side, and you see everything. This is kind of a no-brainer, but I do want to. I am very curious, regardless. Like, how important is the media training to like all lot to all, if not to basically to all these drivers, man or woman, and whatnot. And you know, is how important like is is it better to be like heavily PR trained, or is there a nice balance between them, you seeing them being PR trained, but then also letting their personality shine? Because like you see a lot of these drivers, they're kind of robotic, and it's like, oh, that dude has really been, being told by them, this is what you say for the last 5 years. But like, you know, Matt, you talked about it. Like they need to also like you. So like Sloan, you can tell me a little bit better. Like, what's the perfect happy medium between being really really good under PR, but then also showing them you have a great personality to rep the brand as real as you can, not as good as you can, as real as you can. Because I think that being more real is being better than just good.
Absolutely. I think the main thing is like just being a nice person goes a really, really long way.
Mm,
A lot of talk goes around in the paddock, and I think that since we are, I mean, I want to say quote unquote a smaller series, people don't really have those like fandom things for our drivers really. But what goes around in the paddock is, okay, is he a nice guy? Like, okay, cool. All right, that's chill. That's really good to know.
like, is he good people?
Um,
Yeah.
These are good people, basically, yeah, on and off track. Because you meet some people who are just like an absolute fuckhead on and off track, and you're like, I don't fuck with that guy at all. I want to door
Right.
him the next time I see him. You're not going to, but it's always those things in the back of your brain of like, okay, he's a nice guy. Do I let him go? Do I not? It's whatever. That's probably more driver thing that he can speak to.
Yeah.
On the media side, there are some people that you're like, I would never trust them holding my product in a million fucking years. I've worked with a lot of drivers, especially on the dirt side, that I got them a lot of great sponsorships, and they could not deliver at all. They did not care. They got the money that they wanted, and they didn't do anything to help the brand, and it caused a lot of rifts with like, where's the deliverables? Why are things not being posted? Why would you agree to something like this? And luckily, in this situation, there was no contracts because that could have gotten really, really bad.
Yeah.
This was dirt side, so it was a little bit different. But I mean, if you want to gain any type of like money in this sport, being personable, being well trained on the side of content and like knowing what to post and how to follow those things is super important. If
Yeah.
you don't care about money, it doesn't really matter. It really all goes back to the money side of things and the way that you want to present yourself as a human being. That's really the main thing. There's a lot of like top drivers in the paddock that I was talking to one of my girlfriends yesterday, and I was like, "Oh, are they a nice person?" Like I've heard, they're a crazy good driver, super quiet though. They're like, "Oh no, he's super quiet. He just doesn't really talk a lot and kind of puts his head down and does his thing." So, I mean, I wouldn't have known that on the outside, even though we're literally parked next to each other and I have to ask other people. But
Yeah.
that's where it comes down to, like, is he good people? Is he like a nice person? Should we even give him the time of day? Or is it like, okay, you just keep walking past him and give him like a little head nod every once in a while? Um, so I think, I mean, it really is kind of situational. I think everybody should be trained on the PR side, media side, to know that if you do have those, after race interviews, or if, you've got one of our pit lane reporters coming in being like, hey, you just got out of the car. That was a crazy stint. Give us something for the viewers who are, watching the stream at home
Yeah.
to really have something to chew on. There's a lot of comments that are like, that dude was a fucking dud. Never interview that dude again. This dude looks like he fucking smells. This dude just it sounds like, I mean, he's been chewing rocks his entire life. I don't know. It's all how you want
He
to be
doesn't
perceived.
know what to do with his hands.
That too. I mean, there's
I don't do with my hands.
he's not very Matt's very good media trained, but there's always been this like meme of him being like a block. I
Yep.
don't see it anymore. His team likes to give him shit for it. I don't
Why
see
the
it.
Germans like me, you know?
The Germans like him.
Exactly. There you go. Shout out to
Right.
Talladega Nights. Let's go.
Shout out Ricky Bobby and all that. Yeah.
All of them,
Yeah,
man.
all of
Cal,
that.
Cal Naughton Jr.
Shake and
Yeah.
bake.
Shake and
Shake and
bake,
bake,
baby. Yeah,
baby.
there we go. Shake
It's
and
Shake
bake.
and bake.
it's El Diablo and oh my God, what does Cal Raleigh
Can't
get?
remember.
Oh, the Magic Man, the Magic
Magic
Man,
Man.
and El
Magic Man.
Diablo. Man, that sounds so good. What is that? It's I don't know. It's like Spanish for like fighting chicken.
I haven't seen the movie enough to be able to quote it, but I
It's
love that there's
so good.
all
You
this
never
like
watched it? Oh, you need to, girl.
I've
It
seen
at
it,
least 20 times.
but it's also those quotes of like Kimi Räikkönen's like, yes, yes, I know what to do, leave me alone.
Yeah.
Shit like that. Like those things can just go viral. So, and he's
Right.
not even trying. It's not even an interview. It's like his helmet mic,
It's just
whatever you
him.
want to call
Yeah.
it. It's just him. So I think that being personality is a very big part of it, but also just being a good human being
Right.
is the biggest part too. It just humanizes everything.
Very
So, I
much
mean,
so.
Rexy and IMSA's huge, but like a lot of people don't really know the drivers. And I think IMSA right now is rolling out, hey, meet the drivers of the cars on their Instagram, which I
Yeah.
think is a really great thing to do. Because it just, again, it humanizes the people. So, like, if we're looking at the 120 car for Wright Motorsports, and we know that it's our really good friends, Elliott Scarr and Adam Adelson, who are racing in it, it humanizes that for us,
Yeah.
and for the people around us too. My
Right.
mom, I've been doing this for 2.5 years, has never watched a race ever of mine, even though I'm not driving. But when I started dating Matt, I was like, hey, here's the link to his VIR race. And my mom watched. And she was like literally keeping up with what was going on. And I was like, that's insane. She's like, well, yeah, I mean, you were doing this stuff, but like we didn't know anybody driving. And I'm like, the amount of times that I've said, this is my driver here, this is what's going on there. She's like, yeah, but it's different because it's Matt in the
It
car.
it's the connection. It's the connection. They
Yeah.
he's a guy, you guys are in a really serious relationship. There's a lot of care there and whatnot. It makes your family be invested into it. And I bet if it was the other way around, like if Matt didn't have a race that weekend, but you guys they were looking for you, they wouldn't care who the driver is. The connection is through him, and they're gonna be like, oh, I wonder if we can catch Sloane from the camera right there by the pits. And you're just running with your headset on and stuff like that. Like it is that.
It's happened a few times. It has. We have gotten on
Exactly.
TV. Now
Exactly. And
it's been
that's what
twice
makes
now.
it so cool. That's what
Yeah,
makes
I
it
mean, I
so
got on
cool
with his
is
dad. There was a little pit interviews happening, and his dad and I are like in the background, so it's like, but yeah, I think going back to it, it's like it's all about being personable. It's all
Right.
about how you want to represent yourself. And if you've got a brand repping you, then, hopefully you got a really good contract and a really good PR person that's able to deliver the deliverables.
Right.
And you're really living up to what the brand is expecting, much of the way that BMW wanted to have Matt and these other drivers represent them.
Right.
Because it really is the brand that is going to grow at the end of the day. And like the driver can or can't go with them. But if they grow, you want the driver to go with them as well. So,
Right.
I think that's what really goes back to it. So it's yes and no. It kind of is what you depend what matters the most to you. I will always say yes. Train, talk to yourself in a camera, know good things just to
Do
fire out.
podcasts.
Do podcasts, absolutely. Um,
Do
but
this podcast right
do
here.
this podcast,
Do
absolutely.
Tormenting Tarmac, baby.
If
Let's
you
go.
take one little thing, it's that you should all come on Tormenting Tarmac because
Goddamn
that
right.
when you hit me up, I was like, hell fucking yeah. Like let's absolutely do this.
Let's
So
go.
yeah.
Let's go. Okay, I got a question for both of you. And it's gonna
Yeah.
be a little bit different, but it's a fun question.
Oh,
Um,
favorite.
Matt, I'll start with you.
Uh-oh.
You've raced a variety of different places, not just around the country, but like also in Europe and whatnot. What is one race that, if presented to you tomorrow, whether it be in Formula One, whether it be in NASCAR, whether it be IndyCar, whether it be, the Le Mans Hypercar Series, sports car, anything, I don't care what it is. What is the one race, if presented to you by tomorrow, they said, we want you here? Where are you going and what series is it?
24 hours Le Mans.
That a
That's
boy.
a big race.
I say Nürburgring.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I don't know. The 24 hours Le Mans I put on a slightly bigger pedestal because that's like the one,
That
like
is the
that
one. They made
the
a movie
sports
about
car
it. Come on
race.
now. Let's go.
Yeah. And like 24 hours of Nürburgring has a very special place in my heart because that's what really introduced me to sports
Yeah.
car racing and endurance racing in particular. It's
Yeah.
just it's such a sexy form of motorsport in my
Mhm.
opinion. It's just so cool. There's so
Everybody
many
wants to go
features.
race there, and everybody
Yeah.
can race there because how many classes are in the Le Mans 24 hours usually? Is it like 4 or 5
There's
classes?
it switches between like 3 and 4
Okay.
typically. I think right
Yeah.
now it's about three. You've got the hypercars, LMP2, and then LMGT3. So like I would
Yeah.
love to do it in GT3.
Mhm.
That's kind of my background is GT cars. So if I did Le Mans 24 hours in a BMW M4 GT3 Evo, I would be
Yeah.
beyond myself. Like that's
Dude.
the dream. I could retire right after that race and say, I'm
Absolutely.
good. This is
Yeah.
sweet.
You know
Really?
what? You'll appreciate this. I was at the Peterson Museum last month. Shout out to my boy Danny P, who went ahead and set that up. I was on vacation in LA. Took the family to Universal Studios, and I got a chance to stop at the Peterson. And so they're doing the 50 years of M celebration and whatnot down inside the vault. And so they have a variety of different M cars down there and whatnot. And they do have one of the G80 M3 GT3 race cars like right down there. And I was telling a friend of mine, I was like, yo, as respectfully as I can say this, that G82 actually looks good. You
Hmm.
Oh yeah, the grill works as
BMW,
a
I'm
race car.
sorry. Yeah, the
Yeah.
race car looks incredible.
Oh yeah.
The road car is growing on me more and more over the last 3 years. I would take an M4 G82 if I got a good price on it. I would take it in like a dark blue. Take it in a
Oh yeah.
dark blue. I
I
would.
would say I got to work at a place in Palm Desert called the Thermal Club for about a year and a
Ah,
half.
yes, of course. Such a great, cool track, dude.
Yeah,
So
so
dope.
I worked there as an instructor and a coach for like a year and a half, and we had a fleet of M3 and M4s, and yeah, the looks grow on you after you drive that thing as
It's also
hard
just
as
a good driving BMW M
it is
car.
incredible. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean the amount of sideways laps that I was doing, smiling, giving people hot laps in those cars. I mean, they are genuinely amazing vehicles for what
yeah.
they are.
It's a good car. And I think when you get the right grill on that car, and if it's like a darker color, that's when the
Oh yeah,
G80 and G82 start to look a lot better. Like if you can
for
get like a
sure.
dark blue one with the black grill and whatnot, it starts to look real ace real
Yeah.
quick.
Even the new M2s, I think, are attractive
The
cars.
new the new G87 M2 CS, I saw it and I was like, damn, that looks
Yeah.
way rad. It really does. Like it's gonna have like these bronze wheels. Again, shout out to you, BMW. Hi. Those bronze wheels on this new CS look so sick. The only thing is I really do wish that they would have given the new upcoming M2CS also a 6-speed manual option, not just the 8-speed auto. But that's a
Yeah.
whole different combo
Way of the
for a whole
future
different day.
sad,
Yeah.
but
So
it's
many terms
necessary.
being thrown around that my brain is like, what the hell?
Yeah, Force
Sorry,
feed.
I is
Yeah.
that I just want a little stick, man. Just give me a little stick shift. That's all
I,
I ask.
yeah.
Sloane, he gave a really great answer. I am curious to know because you've been to so many different races and race circuits all over the country and whatnot, but you are now so heavily ingrained into this. Tomorrow, you get a call, anybody from whatever manufacturer and whatnot, or whatever team and whatever series, and they say, hey, listen, we need somebody to work logistics. Who do you want the call to come from? Where do you want to go? And it could
Dude,
it could be NASCAR, it could be F1, it can be IMSA, it can be IndyCar in particular, it could be anything. It can be Le Mans. What like,
brother, I gotta say, like, the most, this could be so cheesy. I don't even freaking care. And this is like, obviously, it's all hypothetical, theoretical, whatever the fuck the term is. If if he lands something with that type of a thing, I want the call to be from that team to be like, will you
all
come
right.
coordinate?
All right. So
Like
okay,
that was like, I'm like,
that's
okay, what did
fair.
I go through? Like, what could go through my head? And I was like, there's nothing more that I would want is like being there
But what if
to
it wasn't
support.
there?
What do you mean?
What if I wasn't there?
I don't want to talk about that.
Well,
Well,
it's a
actually,
dream situation.
I got no clue. I don't know. I'm
Okay,
just
I'll tell you
happy
what.
to be
I'll
here.
make it easier for you. I won't make you choose the team, but I will make you choose the series and the track. And like the venue that you want to go to. Like,
Goodness.
if an F1 team called and said, "We need you for the Vegas Grand Prix," or "We need you to
Oh,
go to Silverstone," or if Arrow McLaren said, "We need you to come to the Indianapolis 500 like ASAP." Like, and like, what are you going for? Or maybe you go to
dude,
Watkins Glen. I don't know.
I don't even know. Like that's such a hard question to answer. I feel like
I
I'm
think I
like,
can answer it for.
what would it be?
What do you
Well, so
think?
I had the privilege of going to the 24 Hours of Spa this year in
Let's
Belgium, and
go.
that is a amazing race. It's so different from both Le Mans and Nürburgring, but
Yeah.
I
You're
think you'd
racing around a
enjoy
mountain, bro.
that
You're
one.
you're
Yeah,
literally racing on a mountain.
pretty incredible.
I think
It's
it would probably,
ridiculous.
honestly, it would be 24 hours of spa for sure. Or Le Mans, honestly. And I think
Like,
team wise, like I don't really have a preference at all. I think just being able to attend one of those events would be absolutely incredible.
Right.
I don't see myself as like a bandwagon fan for different teams. I think I've worked for so many at this point. I've worked for like 12 that I've worked with so many different cars. I've worked with so many different drivers. I've worked in so many different series and like different classes within the series that I just am so grateful to be able to attend in general that
Sure.
I don't try to set it to a certain thing or like I'm just stoked to be able to do things in general. So
Just
that's
stoked
kind
to
of like
be
my
here, guys.
open-ended vague answer.
No, no,
I
but it's cool. I think Spa is just such a beautiful track. And you know what? Let me just say this right now. Um, I know I've brought up F1 a couple different times. Obviously, it's the biggest of the race series out there, probably. Unless others consider it NASCAR, others consider it WEC. Just in general. But the last few years, and I'm glad that they kind of changed it up this year. But Formula One kept on going to Spa, and then it would get rained out,
yeah.
and then they'd be like, "Oh, we can't race at Spa." Or the year that by technicality George Russell got a podium because they
that was
only raced
crazy.
20 laps instead of like, you could have just raced tomorrow, Formula One.
I
Like
think they did like a couple pace laps and then just
they
called it. I don't even think they.
literally, I think they let them run like 15 laps and they were going at like 50% or something like that.
Yeah,
And then like Max Verstappen won it. It was during the 2021 season when him and
yeah.
Lewis were having that iconic season. And like, I mean, shout out to George because obviously he went ahead and was able to go ahead and place P3 in qualifying, which is what allowed him to go ahead and be so far up, and which was crazy at the time. But it was just like that was crazy, and I was like thinking to myself, I'm like, I wish Formula One instead of saying, "Oh, we're too scared to go ahead and drive Spa at this moment in time." Just freaking change it on the calendar. Go sometime that the weather is not going to be as horrendous as you feel like these drivers can't race it. Which, by the way, let me be clear. I want to be clear about something. I think there's a very fine line between drivers racing in the wet and then drivers racing in extremely horrendous, dangerous weather. There's a huge fine line. But at the end of the day, and Matt, maybe you can attest to this a little bit. And if I'm being a dick, please tell me if I am. But like, this is literally what you guys prep for. You guys prep for every single environment possible. Like,
Brother, do we have a story for you?
Like, there's a reason why wets were made, right?
We have now experienced two back-to-back race weekends with really crazy rain situations.
Right.
And the one race, I feel like the first race at VIR was not handled the best way, personally, of like they just let the
PRR
clock.
is such a cool, crazy, fast track, dude. It is
Oh yeah.
so fast. It's insane.
Yeah, he qualified really well there. We were really stoked for a good race. And then I think it wasn't even there was lightning far away. I think like it was in 5 miles and the radius is like 15 or something like that. But they ended up letting him go out for a little bit, brought him back in, and then let the clock run out. He sat in the car for like 20 minutes. And I was like, what the heck is this? So there was that, and I wasn't stoked about that, and they called the race then. And then at Road America, this was the last race that we just did. This happened yesterday. No, 2 days ago.
Yeah,
Saturday?
3 days ago. Yeah,
3 days.
whatever.
Well, I don't know what
No,
day it is.
2 days ago.
2 days
Yeah,
ago?
wow. Okay.
Good Lord. And Matt can speak to it better than I can, but I think they made the right call of their rescheduling that race to happen at Barber. So we'll have a Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Okay.
But I think, you can kind of speak to more about the conditions, but it also depends on the series, I think, of the way that they handle things. Obviously,
Yeah.
Spa, the conditions can be really tough.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it just goes beyond the conditions sometimes because, like, I think the conditions, like this past weekend at Road America, we went out for our pace lap and like track was super wet. We were on wet tires, but I'm excited. I'm fired up because I know that, it's not raining that hard. We've got opportunities in this race. The track is again, it's
Not to
wet, but you
mention,
can race it.
in 2025, these cars are about as technologically advanced as they ever could. Remind me, is your M4, is it all-wheel drive or is it just rear-wheel drive? It's
Rear-wheel drive. Yeah,
right. Okay.
homologated to the series, everything has to be rear-wheel drive. But
I
we've got
figured.
traction control, we've got ABS, we've got adjustable things in the car that help us to a certain degree.
Sure.
But I think, yeah, I don't know. The difficulty with and I think like in our case too, it's like lightning, different protocols with lightning and different tracks. Some
Okay.
tracks it's 3 miles, some tracks it's 5, it's 10. Some different curfew times. I think Road America has like a curfew time where we kind of ran up to the clock in terms of when we can actually run the race.
Oh.
Also two
Curfew in the
corner
sense of
workers.
like because of noise regulations kind of a deal,
I
or what
think
exactly?
so.
Okay,
Yeah, I
cool.
think it was noise in the area. And also like corner workers and the people that are hired to do the races, like
Sure.
sometimes they just, they gotta leave, and I don't know. There's a lot of things that there's long story short, to go back to, there's so many variables that you don't see as a fan, watching this race where you can watch the race and it's like, oh, why aren't they going racing? It's like the
Yeah,
whole thing with NASCAR and, why don't they race in the rain? Throw some rain tires on and tell them to go slow. It's like there's so many different things I think that go into it behind the scenes from an organizing standpoint that it's very complicated. Motorsport is a
absolutely.
game of variables. And sometimes all those variables have to come together for the show to happen.
Yeah,
And yeah, as much as I want to go play in the rain, and we do get to go play in the rain sometimes, and it's a joy to do. Yeah, sometimes it just doesn't work out.
I totally understand that. I totally understand it. It was more so, because some places you go to, traffic, not traffic, weather's always going to go ahead and be an enormous variable. But if you can sometimes change it in terms of like calendar, like they could do with Spa on the Formula One calendar, you don't have to go ahead and have it in June when you know that you're going to be getting torrential downpour. You can go ahead and do it in
Yeah.
April, or you can move it to September or October. And maybe in October it might be too cold and things of that nature. But I think that there's variable, like in that particular day, like they could have gone ahead. Like if you knew it wasn't going to rain that Monday, I'm sure if you're worried about people not coming to the race, you are sorely mistaken. If you live in Belgium, if you are going to that race, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And so like I just find that very interesting. And I do want to go ahead and state something really quickly. There are racetracks, historical racetracks that have been in different parts of this union for a very, very, very long time, and they have chosen to go ahead and put neighborhoods around said racetracks. I'm just going to say this one time. If you build a home community, a neighborhood around a racetrack, and you have the audacity to complain about the noise,
Mhm.
go to hell.
Amen.
Yeah,
That's
it's
like
like
Lime Rock. You can't start your engines before 8 a.m., 9 a.m., I think.
Yeah.
that's wild to me because
Mandatory.
I think there's noise
Um,
regulations at Laguna Seca.
Laguna's the big one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I'm scared of what might happen with the whatever the plans are going to be around Willow Springs and outside, which is outside of
Yeah.
LA and whatnot. Like I hope, like if they bring in housing developments and stuff like that, I'm like, all right, cool, but like just put it in the HOA. You are not allowed to complain about the noise.
Right.
If you
Right.
Yeah.
want to live there, deal with it. If you don't like the noise, don't buy a property there. It's not
Right.
that hard.
Oh yeah.
Right. Literally.
Need to
Yeah,
get
that's
that
the
off my
whole
chest.
Laguna Seca. Yeah, Laguna Seca
Yeah,
has like a shack. There's like a famous shack outside of Turn 5 there.
yeah,
And growing up, obviously in California and going racing there early, we would put these, we call them Laguna Seca pipes on the car, and they
yep,
face away from the sound booth.
yep.
So it was always these funny contraptions that you would weld to your exhaust so that it would face away from the
It's
booth.
almost like putting a
So
mute on a
funny.
trumpet,
Pretty
right?
much. Yeah.
Yeah,
In a way. It just points it away, and then at the end of the day, if you couldn't do that, you'd just have to short shift there, you know. But then
right,
it's like you still, and again, like the tracks know where it's like they're just doing this because they're told from the county or they're told from the neighborhoods or something like that.
yeah,
But yeah, to the overall point, don't move into a house next to a racetrack if you don't like racetracks. It seems
exactly.
so simple.
Yeah, we were
And
at an
then,
Airbnb like right across from Road America, and when we walk out of the house in the morning, you could just hear the race cars going, and I'm like, oh, that's so
that's
freaking sick,
it's
dude.
so heavenly. I could just imagine. So yeah, and for any drivers out there, if you're running a track day and you're on your last lap, that's when you should absolutely go full throttle when you're not supposed to, because they're gonna kick you out, and you'll be like, good, because I finished. Like so, it's
I mean, basically, I would. That's what I
basically
would do. I feel like he's so professional. Maybe you wouldn't, but like I would fucking send it, brother. Have my fucking foot to the goddamn floor and just go. I'm terrified of driving cars, though. I'm a good
are you?
driver. He tells me I'm a good driver
She's a
Yeah,
very good driver,
in
but
a street car, in a
she wants
regular
to see
car.
what she can do in a race car sometimes,
yeah.
so we'll have to figure that out.
We've gone throughout this podcast. We really haven't spoken too much about street car and car culture and whatnot. Matt, obviously, you put a lot of your focus into racing, but it's going to sound like a very stupid question, but I know it's not, because there's a lot of race car drivers who they are, yeah, car enthusiasts and stuff like that, but because they are so used to trying to not drive either quickly outside of the track, or because all they do is drive quickly on track, sometimes they like to take it slow on the when you're outside. So I guess, would you consider yourself an automotive enthusiast, and where, like, what's the kind of, like, what are you currently driving now?
A
Being
Nissan Versa.
a
Oh,
Nissan
I
Versa,
love
huh?
that car. Yeah,
Hey
I
man,
can't
I
claim to
drive a
drive
Kia
any car
Sorento,
that's not a
dog.
BMW right now. No, but
Doesn't drive that.
what was I gonna say? Yeah, no, I'm definitely a car enthusiast. I think that there's definitely people that are more into different scenes than I am.
Yeah,
I mean, I grew up, my dad had classic cars and he had sports cars growing up, so I kind of grew up with an appreciation of all different types of cars and, appreciating everyone and what every different type of genre that people are into. And
yeah,
obviously Forza had a big impact on me growing up and that sort of car culture and Forza Motorsport and Horizon, just the love of cars and back roads and, enjoyment overall. Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't say that I'm maybe like the biggest just car nut. I don't know tons of mechanical things. Like obviously I know the basics and I'm really into cars and cars are on my mind a lot. And I can respect cars and love sports cars and so that sort of thing. But like I've never had like a project car that I really, tune on and do that sort of thing. And I think that'll come with time. I've always wanted a drift car.
yeah.
I would love
Oh,
to
there
have
you go.
something that's just fun to go take to a drift track day and just
Yeah.
go learn how to slide it around on some cheap tires. Like that's a future goal of mine for
For
sure.
sure.
That's why on the
Add
list.
that to the surfing, but it is very interesting because what you end up needing to go ahead and do is make sure that you're keeping the rear end in check. So, someone like yourself, it's like you're not used to purposely getting the loose end, or excuse me, the rear end loose on purpose. You're not
Yep.
used to that. You're actually trying to keep it in check. So I
Yep.
like the fact that you want to do the complete opposite of that. It's like, no, I actually do want to get it loose on purpose and
Yeah.
whatnot. That's I love that. That's cool. How about you, Sloan? Where does your car love lie?
Oh goodness. I love vintage cars. I love American Muscle. a
Okay.
lot. I'm into JDM a bit as well, so I've always liked BMWs. My dad's always been an Audi guy. So we kind of grew up always having like an Audi convertible. I don't remember what it was, but it was the something or another. I don't know. So I've always had an appreciation for them, but I
So you like
think
Euros and JDM? That's what's up. Okay.
yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
definitely. And I think especially living in LA for a little bit, seeing the car scene there was incredible. And in
Yeah.
Scottsdale, the car scene's incredible, doing all the cars and coffees, Pavs, everything, even just the
Rest
cars
in
were
peace, Pabs over here, by the way.
I know, that's a whole thing. I was trying to describe what Pavs was to him, and he was like, "What?" I'm like, "It's fine, don't worry about it." But it was a whole, it's such
It
an
was
incredible,
it was a thing, brother. Oh, it was a
it was a
thing.
huge thing, and it was incredible. And like to see that entire thing just kind of go to shit sucks. And I only experienced 1 year of it, so I really didn't even understand how deep it went. But that it just I have such an appreciation. I would love a 76 Bronco. That is definitely in my want. I'd love an RX-7 FD. Oh, I'd love one of those. So I don't know. I think I've always just had an appreciation. I currently drive a Chevy Trailblazer. She's cute. She's fine. She's got no speed to her at all with the way I drive. It's not good because I should have something that accelerates faster with the sketchy moves that I make. But you know what?
Question: what year is your Chevy Trailblazer?
2025.
Oh, it's a new one. It's a new one.
Yeah, I
Okay.
lease my cars. I'm a loser
Okay.
like that.
No, 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 no. You're not a loser. You're not a loser.
Oh,
Yeah,
thanks.
I'm the host of a car culture podcast, and I drive a Kia Sorento. You're not a
Hell
loser.
yeah, you do,
Going
brother.
back
Hell
to
I
Kia.
fucking
do.
yeah.
I do. Um, for craps and giggles, I appreciate you give me the hell yeah. That's right, everybody. um, I will say this because if you're you know that in 2006 to 2008, right around there, you know that they made a Chevy Trailblazer SS, right?
Yes.
I had a friend who had
Okay,
one. Oh yeah.
bruh, they're quick, man. Because
Oh
it
yeah.
had it had basically LS2, which is what would have been in the Corvettes of the time. So it
Yeah.
made like 400 horsepower. It was the Jeep. It was the Jeep Grand Cherokee SRT before the Jeep Grand Cherokee. Actually, it came out right before the Grand Cherokee SRT. So
Okay.
everybody talks about how the Grand Cherokee SRT came out and it had the Hemi V8 with the 6.2 or the 6.1 liter, but Chevy did it first with the Trailblazer SS. They're kind of cheap, dude. That might be your project car.
Hmm.
Get yourself a
I think
hot
I want a
rodded
barn
SUV.
dominium, and I want to have a race shop at the bottom of the barn dominium, and I want to have all these cars.
With the
So
cadavers right next to them and everything like that. That would be sick.
exactly. Fuck that. Absolutely not.
yeah, I was like, to go back to that. I'm like, I have no story that's going to follow up that very well. So that was
That's okay.
a
We bring a
special.
lot of different things to the relationship. There's not a day that we don't, that he doesn't teach me something new, or
Sure.
we've never watched a TV show together. We've never watched a movie. We just talk all the fucking time.
Isn't that nice?
It's amazing.
We've also been
Yeah.
busy.
We've been busy, but it's like the times that we get to be with each other, like
Sure.
we can scroll on our phones a little bit, but then he'll kind of look at me and be like, "You're still scrolling on your phone." I'm like, "Yeah, I want to watch my goddamn TikToks, okay?"
I'm like, yeah, we haven't talked about like specific 80s Italian dream cars yet.
We don't do that.
We can.
We can, I
Yeah.
guess.
We
That's a new
we can. I
calendar
mean,
conversation.
listen, you're talking to uh my favorite Italian car, which happens to be my favorite car of all time, is not an 80s Italian. It's a early to mid 2000s. It's a Lamborghini Murcielago LP 640. You know what I mean?
Holy
There you
mother
go.
trucker, that's a long
It's a
word.
Mercy, the cool Mercy.
Versus a
Like
pill.
yeah, that and a Diablo. I do love a Diablo too,
Yeah.
as well. You
Very
were
nice.
mentioning 80s Italian cars. I assume, are we talking like, Testarossas? Are you talking Countach?
Oh, I do like a good Testarossa. My friend has a really nice one in Scottsdale.
Countach is so
I have a friend
classic.
of mine that's got one too. What color is your friend's?
Red.
Nice. My friend's is yellow.
Nice.
Yeah, it's
They have
sick.
a
Shout
good
out to Brian and
variety.
Brandy Cole. They actually
Shout
were
out
the
to Colin
podcast.
Pro.
Oh, okay. What's up, Colin? How you doing? Red Testarossa is A-okay in my book. It's awesome.
Nice.
How about you? How about you? If you had no budget, um, Matt, what are you thinking would be the one car that you would like, or actually just when you called it a good career, or as you reach the pinnacle of where you're at now, what would be the one car that you'd say I'm ready to go ahead and spend some good money on to go ahead and bring to just have my as my car, or
Oh
a
man.
car with a
So
daily?
tough.
Yeah, what do we get
In
in
terms
that?
of just like, yeah, like budget range, it's always tough because it's like, do I go something that's kind of attainable or do I just go for a car that's like, oh, that's the car, you know?
Well, I mean, it depends, because like, I think to myself, like, going back to Talladega Nights, Ricky Bobby drove around in a 69 Chevelle,
Right.
so
Oh, those
you
are
could do
fun.
that, or you could go ahead and keep it real, you could, I don't know, you could take it wherever you want to, wherever your heart so desires,
I think,
in terms
yeah,
of like where you've made it really well with with the BMW Racing Academy and stuff like that. You're like, okay, I'm ready to go ahead and splurge on something. What do you think would be the first thing?
gosh, I've always loved like BMW E30 M3s. Sport, I
That's a
think
good one.
it's either the Sport Evo or the Sport Classic. I always mess it
I
up,
think it's
but
the Sport Evo. Yeah.
yeah, the Sport Evo, there's a it's like the homologation car of its time.
Yeah.
Just so cool. I always grew up watching like DTM 1992, with these touring cars, and that's just the perfect daily driver, where it kind of blends
Absolutely.
in if you don't know what it is, but man, if you know what it is, you're like, that's cool, and it's so
Mm-hmm.
analog and the right amount of power, the right weight, the right size, the right transmission, like that's the car.
They are sick. Actually, we have some mutual friends who have some really, really sick E30s. They're not
Yeah.
M3s, but they're 325i's, and they're both so different from one another. And they
Oh
know
yeah.
I hope they listen to this podcast because obviously Sloan, they know you and you know them. Shout out to Sam and Kayla. Their E30s are substantially freaking rad.
Yeah, they're incredible.
They are really cool. The LS3 and one, and the other one is just a real chill S15. Excuse me, E30. Um, and it's the sickest, like unbelievably cool green you've ever seen in your life.
It's such a stunning green. I've never seen a color like that before, but they've done
It's
such a beautiful
such a
job with these
banger.
cars.
It's
Like,
such a
I
banger.
mean, just being in the garage, I'm like, holy shit. You just can't help
Yeah.
but admire them every time you're in there. You're like, God dang.
No, Kayla has an eye for detail, and
Oh, absolutely.
Sam has just genuinely beautiful taste. They both do
100%.
actually.
Yeah.
So you saying an E30, I'm that's good. That's good. As we get to wrapping it up here tonight, guys. And Sloan, I mentioned to you earlier before we started recording the podcast that you are the only Sloan that I've ever met in my entire life officially. The only other Sloan that I know is, of course, from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Um, um, I bring this up because obviously you're so involved in film. Is there one film that you, or just a variety of different films that you can think of off the top of your head that made you fall in love with cinema and whatnot, that kind of
Oh,
put you on the path to where you've gotten to today?
I have goosebumps, like just thinking about this. So I said to Matt earlier, like I was going to say to you, I have a story that blows your mind.
I'm ready.
Being from Chicago, the northern suburbs, John Hughes, who wrote Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Breakfast Club, Pretty in Pink, Home Alone, Lampoon's National Vacation, Weird Science, all these different movies. They were filmed in my hometown.
Yeah.
So it's like I kind of grew up in a John Hughes film. Like the mall that they film Weird Science in is the mall that I grew up going to. The house that they drive the Ferrari off at Cameron's in Ferris Bueller's Day Off is like 5 minutes
Such,
away from here.
bruh, that's such a sick house, though. It is
Oh,
such a
it's stunning.
sick
It's
house.
cool. There's like a bunch of graffiti on like the driveway side of it now. I don't really know if I don't think it has anything to do with Ferris Bueller's Day Off,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna bring him around there tomorrow.
Look at that.
So really that's like it's the coming of age films that I love. It's the breaking the fourth wall. I had a question in my production company job that I work in Scottsdale. It was like a round table thing and like who would you bring onto a podcast if you had the chance to? My answer was John Hughes because I just wanted to know what was his point of breaking the fourth wall? Did he ever get
Right.
to achieve the things that he wanted to? Or do you think the audience got to feel what he wanted with the characters addressing the audience? Or what were the main things you just wanted to do with that in general? Because you don't see directors doing that anymore.
Not anymore.
So, I mean, that's the movie that I was named after. My parents were pregnant with my sister or my older sister when they watched the movie
Oh,
for the
is
first.
that right? That is
Yeah,
so
so she was born,
cool.
and they were like, "That's not a Sloane." And then I was born, and they're like, "Hell yeah, that's a Sloane." So, yeah, it's always been like it's been a very cool thing to have that name a part of me. Um, and yeah, so that really started my love for it, and I wanted to be a producer and start producing coming of age films again. So that's still something that's been in my back pocket, and if I've been given the chance to, I think being able to work in an environment like that that really tells stories of it's not the mean girl stories, it's more of those like awkward ones like eighth grade or book smart that I think really had they should have had a bigger effect than they actually did. And I
Yeah.
speak so passionately about that because like I was a freaking awkward kid and I used these movies to kind of help me figure things out. I always
My
wanted a
wife
Jake.
did the same thing with Harry Potter. That's really what that's that she gravitated towards those books and then obviously loves those movies. That was her escape from the weirdness that it still is the world at times.
Yeah.
I love that you bring that up.
Yeah. I mean that's my favorite tie-in with my name and just growing up in Chicago and growing up by Northbrook and everything like that. So
Yeah.
it's my like little cool flex that I like to say is like I grew
I
up in a
love
Disney
it. No, I'm so
film.
happy that
So
that I was just rewatching the movie today. Actually, I was
yeah.
just rewatching it. And I was like, oh yeah, blah blah blah. Like Sloane Peterson. That's so cool. And I was having this conversation with my coworker. I was trying to explain to her because she's like, oh well, the best John Hughes movie is The Breakfast Club. And I was like,
Mm.
respectfully, it's not. It's Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Respectfully, you're wrong.
You're
Like,
wrong. It's just like I know you're right, but you're actually wrong.
right.
Because I explained it. I was explaining to her. I was like, you need to realize that we all wanted to be Ferris. Like
Yeah,
I still want to be Ferris, but in
absolutely.
reality, we're all Cameron. We're seeing the world through his eyes, and we all either wanted to be like Ferris or we wanted our best friend to be Ferris. And
Hmm.
because Ferris has a level of cool that we just can't achieve by being normal human beings. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To this day, and everything. And it's funny. I know that Paramount Plus is developing a spin-off on the dudes who take the 250 out on a joyride through Chicago.
No,
I know it's supposedly coming and whatnot, but
absolutely not.
that's what I'm saying. My thing has always been, and I know that he's already gone, and may he rest in peace, John Hughes, of course. But like, I would love to go ahead and see a movie or a show where, because obviously Matthew Broderick is now, and it's probably in his early 60s. So you
Hmm.
can either have him be, his kid is like him, or Cameron's kid is like Ferris, and then Cameron and Ferris are having to kind of see their kids be the opposite of one another, and then they have I kind of like that. Like that to me would be a much
So
more interesting
interesting.
story. You know what I mean? And then obviously
Absolutely.
Ferris would be married to Sloane, and then I Edward Rooney is still the principal of the high school. Like that would be
Absolutely
great.
not. That man needs to retire. I hate him with
This
my
is true.
entire
He
being.
does. He
No, I
absolutely.
like that. That's a very interesting take.
Yeah.
I think that with John now being, not with us, I think we leave his things as they were.
True. This is
That's
very
how I
true.
feel about those. Like sequels are just enough to me, but I think that with the respective of his vision and what he had, we leave him be. I let that man rest in peace. I don't need him rolling in his grave.
This is true.
Like,
Well, unless it was someone that was actually a part of that, like, and you'd have to get Matthew Broderick in there, and you'd have to get Alan Ruck, and you'd have to go ahead
mhm.
and get I forget the actress's name that plays Sloane, but you'd have to go ahead and get
It's
her.
uh,
It's Mia
Mia,
something.
God, something with an S.
Yes, it'll come back to me. But and you'd have to
It'll
get
cut,
Jennifer
yeah.
Grey, and you did.
Yeah.
Heck, I'm down with Charlie Sheen even making a cameo. Like I'd be down
Oh
with all these
God.
things,
You always
and
forget Shirley
whatnot.
Sheen's in there. It's
He's
so funny.
I'd be okay with it. I'd be okay with it. Are there any movies that for you, Matt, when you were going ahead and growing up, trying to be this awesome race car driver that you are right now? Were there anything because like it's interesting because like when you are so focused in driving and whatnot, I assume that you may have been were you homeschooled or did you still go to public or private school when you were
Oh,
for your
definitely went
education?
to, yeah, I went to public school the whole
Oh, you
time.
did? Okay, cool. But
Went to university.
all your attention and everything like that was on racing and whatnot.
Yep.
But because you were so focused on that, was there anything that like was there any movies that helped you escape? Because obviously there's so not it's not the pressure of it, but more so like because you're so solely focused on that. Like, was there anything throughout your childhood or even to where you are now where it like you watch that and like that's kind of like your moment of like this takes me away from the realness of life.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I was never really a big movie person growing up.
Or it
I
could
always
be a
watched a
book
lot of
or
races. Yeah,
okay.
but I had a lot of like documentary type films that I
Oh,
watched.
okay.
Big one called Truth in 24 and Truth in 24 2, and it was a behind the scenes look at Audi and their factory team for the 24 Hours of Le Mans. and it was shot
Nice.
really well, and really good interviews and really good dialogue on the car's technology and what the drivers had to go through in the race. And Truth in 24 2 had an amazing story where they brought three of these cars to the race. They're going to win overall. They're racing against Peugeot for the win, and like two of the cars go out in the spectacular fashion and big crashes and like high drama, and then there's just one car left and it's got to defend against three Peugeots. And yeah, I don't know, it's a really kind of just inspiring story of like just team and camaraderie and performing at the highest level
Right.
in that sense. It was always very motivational growing up. It's a good film.
No, that's awesome. And it's a good way where, even though it's still very oriented into what you do, it gives you also a proper idea as to, how to live life yourself as you continue throughout this journey and whatnot, and how to continue to inspire yourself and try to go ahead and elevate yourself to be the best teammate possible, be the best driver possible for your team and stuff like that. It's something I can definitely appreciate. And I promise you, this is where we will wrap it up. And I apologize that I've continued to go on, but it's been such a fun conversation. I don't really want it to end. But you know, what can you, because we were talking about this before we started recording, what are your goals and aspirations for the 2026 season? I know that we're currently in August right now, but I think we're getting towards the end of your season. What do you want to see? What can you where can you view yourself improving upon upcoming for the 2026 season, where you can make your car better, you can drive your car better, you can make your team better, you can be that better team player?
I think going into 2026, there's a lot of options on the table. There's a lot that's possible right now. It's
Yeah,
only August, but the season for, let's say, for IMSA starts in January at Daytona, so you really don't have that much time to get
you're
there.
prepping now,
Um,
you're prepping now.
for sure. And honestly, a lot of that prep is, working with myself and other people, but also working with Sloane on sponsorship side and looking for, bringing things to teams and helping yourself be more enticing. And, part of that is media too, and what you can bring with yourself and your public image to these teams. And just trying to entice, people to take you early, and be ahead of the schedule. I think in an ideal world, I'd love to go do IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge would be an incredible step to move up to. Same car, I could race the M4 GT4 in that championship, but it's a slightly bigger stage than the SRO GT4 America that I race in now. That's kind of the goal. If not, there's another IMSA season called VP Challenge, which is a single driver format. Would love to aim for that next season too. And if not in the States, I'm looking at potentially going back to Europe and going to the Nürburgring. The NLS Championship also runs a lot of BMWs and that side of the world, and it's always been a dream of mine to go do that. So I don't know, a lot of options on the table, and a lot of things to evaluate and see what's possible.
Okay. Well, I look forward to being able to go ahead and see your progression. I look forward in the next few months having the conversation with you once more and Sloane about your decisions on whatever options you end up taking. I know that just on the conversation that we've had this evening, you are an enormous asset to whoever and everyone that you work with. And that is a very difficult thing to go ahead and continue to carry on. And I have nothing but respect for not just your talents, but more so the professionalism that you have brought to this podcast this evening. But just you seem to be just a dope ass dude. And
Right.
we need a lot more dope ass dudes, whether it's in racing or just in real time. So do me a favor, continue to drive well, but just be a dope ass dude. And I wish you nothing but all the success as you move forward, whether it be with BMW or whatever options lie on the table. And if it is BMW, let's get let's get some BMWs in our lives, yo. That's all. Yeah, it's
Damn
never too much.
straight.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Appreciate
and
it.
everything like that. And for you, Sloane, I didn't really get a chance to talk to you about this. We kind of brought this up, but like, let's close it right here. Tell me what it was like to be able to go ahead and work with an incredible team that is led under Zack Snyder with when you worked on Rebel Moon, because like that must have been unbelievably cool.
It was incredible. It was one of those experiences where I kind of fell into it. I didn't know what I was actually getting myself into. I was starting as just a PA, that was doing some rolling lunches. So that was like they didn't stop filming for the day. I was just handling like everybody's lunch orders and handing it to them on set while they would
Hold that
continue
thought
eating.
1 second. Hang on for 1 second. I'm so sorry. Hold on, hold on.
Um, I started as a PA, doing rolling lunches. And that basically means that you don't get to stop for lunch. Usually it's at the 6 hour of filming. It's mandated to take a lunch break or else you go into penalties and that is more money and it's a whole big thing. Um, but I networked and they were like, okay, what else are you doing for, what do your days look like? I'm like, I don't really have anything. I was working in American Idol. And then that got cut. So I just kind of started working my way up within Rebel Moon. I ended up working really closely with Zach and his son Eli, on second unit. So that was like, I think one of the most surreal experiences. And sometimes when my Snapchat memories pop up, I filmed it from May until October. Rap was in December. I was there until, oh God, mid-November, I think, and then I ended up going to Germany for a month in December. Completely unrelated to him being in Germany, but that's neither here nor there. But he was the weirdest guy. Zach was so freaking weird, and I was a walkie PA on certain things, and so he would hide walkies from me and be like, Sloane, where did this walkie go? And I'd be like, what do you mean? Who took it? Why does somebody have that walkie? Why is that number even out of the case? And he'd be like, I did it. One time he hid one all the way up in the shack, and there was like, you have like a little walkie antenna. So he unscrewed the antenna from the walkie and stuck it up in the ceiling. And all of a sudden, like the director is not supposed to be on the walkies. Like if he's on the walkies, you're like something bad has happened. He's like Sloane, Shack now, and everyone turns to me, and I'm like shitting my pants. I'm like, why the fuck is Zack Snyder calling me to set right now? What is going on? And I walk in there, and he points up, and he's like, what is that doing there? And I was like, what is that antenna doing in the fucking ceiling? That's really weird. So I had to climb up this fucking chicken coop thing. It's kind of wild. And it was just the antenna, not a walkie. And so I get up there and I like look at it and I wiggle it around. He's like, "You're so fucking dumb. Like it's a fucking antenna." I'm like, "This doesn't make any sense. Why are you doing this? This is taking time away from us filming." Also, like, why? So super stressful, dude, in like the best way. But I mean that movie was absolutely incredible. We filmed four movies at once. It was the part one, part two, rated R version, and the Snyder cut. So
Right.
it was incredible. It was the craziest experience. Eli has such a beautiful mind, the way that he has taken after his dad and also adds in all these different things.
Yeah.
He was doing all the stunts, so I got to hang out with some pretty cool stunt actors and
That's amazing.
see his take on it. So, the passion that he brought to it, it just kind of like keeps I look very fondly back on those memories. It was incredible.
That's that's really sick. I'm gonna say this right now, and I'm glad that WB is doing what they're doing right now, and I think James Gunn has an amazing vision. But boy, howdy, did Warner Brothers really drop the ball on Zack Snyder. And the
Yeah.
Snyder Cut's a masterpiece.
Yeah.
BVS is awesome. Man of
Hmm.
Steel is awesome.
Yeah.
Um, I won't hear anything of it, and I still to this day love 300.
Hell
So
yeah, 300 all the way. For
300,
sure.
300 is rad. And I
Incredible.
haven't watched, is it Army of Darkness that he did with Dave?
Army of the Dead.
Army of the Dead. Thank you. Excuse me. I sincerely apologize.
No, you're good. He just talked
But
about it all the fucking time, so
yeah, no,
it's like
but
ingrained in my brain.
Snyder's dope.
Yeah.
And he is tremendous. And I think that's an awesome way to go ahead and close out tonight's show with, everything that Matt is looking forward to goals wise, and then you being able to go ahead and talk about such an amazing experience, which is not car related whatsoever. Um, I do wonder how insanely cool if we actually did see some type of car film or car centric action piece, if we could get that from Zack Snyder at some point. That is a thing to think about someday.
Dang.
Um,
Okay, yeah. I'll text Eli. I'll be like, "Hey, how you doing? You want to
hey,
film a movie?"
it's if I would be down with that. I mean, his action set pieces to this day are unbelievably cool. So I think
Oh
he can
yeah.
go ahead and get some creativity out of that. So, guys, it's been a real, real, real treat. And I'm so glad that we got this opportunity, and I hope that we get a chance to do it again very, very soon. This has been
Yeah.
so much fun. I'll let you guys plug away your social medias and whatnot, and Also, Matt, if you want to go ahead and plug away any way that people can go ahead and find a way to endorse you or to sponsor, shoot any sponsorships your way or through Sloane, like go for it.
Yeah, pretty simple for me. You can find me on Instagram at Matt Million Racing. Same thing on Facebook. My email, mattmillionracing@gmail.com. All pretty simple. So yeah, give me a follow, reach out anytime. I'm always pretty available, always looking to talk to cool, exciting people and people that might have opportunity, mutually beneficial opportunities. So yeah, reach out anytime.
Awesome. Awesome. And how about you, Sloan?
Uh, hey, Sloane Polisner. That's just everything across the board. I have a website. Please don't look at it. It's from college. It's not updated in the slightest. But any girls that have any questions about motorsports or anybody who wants to ask any questions regarding how to get into the sport, I'm always super, super stoked to talk to people, kind of give them the whole breakdown, the nitty gritty. So yeah, hit me up if you've got questions and always happy to chat.
I love it, guys. It's been a real treat. And I was gonna try and quote Ferris, but I can't think of any good ones to go ahead that
Life
make
moves
sense.
pretty fast. If
Yes.
you don't stop and take a look around every once in a while, you might miss it.
That was perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
On behalf of Sloan Polisner and on behalf of Matt Million, my name is Jorge Aquino, and you have all been listening to Tormenting Tarmac. It's the podcast where the enthusiast, John Hughes' spirit, and just the spirit of Ferris Bueller will never die. Have a great night, everybody.